Chapter 26. After crossing the Tigris River, Gilgamesh and Enkidu walked into a mountain called Zagros Mountain. The mountain was filled with cedar trees. Since Funbaba, the mythical creature of the forest, lived here, these cedar trees were growing very well. There were also signs of small animals moving around in the cedar forest. So this is the cedar forest where Funbaba lives. What a beautiful scenery. It seems like Funbaba lives up to its name as the mythical creature of the forest. Gilgamesh complimented without hesitation. Gilgamesh was never stingy with his compliments. Yes, I passed by this place when I was traveling. Although Funbaba is a mythical creature, Funbaba is not as ferocious as other mythical creatures. It only lives here quietly, guarding countless treasures. No one knows where it came from. I have never even heard of which mythical creature it is. Enkidu explained. Let's go. Let's deal with Funbaba first. We'll talk about the Hyunryong relic and the wood later. Gilgamesh said and started walking deeper into the forest. Enkidu hesitated for a while. He wanted to say something, but gave up after giving it some thought. The two of them walked through the dense forest and arrived at an open space. They saw a gigantic mythical creature that was filled with the aura of the forest. The mythical creature was covered with green fur. Its head was like a deer's, and its two huge antlers were like swords. Its body was like a bear's, but its gigantic body did not look barbaric. Instead, it gave off a special feeling of tranquility. That's a mythical creature, Gilgamesh said in disbelief. Yes, that's indeed the mythical creature of the forest, Funbaba. I was shocked when I first saw it. Although Funbaba is a mythical creature, for some unknown reason, Funbaba is not as ferocious as other mythical creatures. Enkidu explained to Gilgamesh. However, Gil, if our opponent is Funbaba, we can actually talk to it. Enkidu said thoughtfully. What do you mean? Gilgamesh asked in confusion. Funbaba has a gentle temperament. If you don't provoke it, it's actually a very easy magical beast to get along with. Because the fir forest is too lush, some people once got lost in this forest. They were all led out of the forest by Funbaba. This is also the reason why Funbaba is said to be the divine beast of the forest. Enkidu turned to look at Funbaba and continued. If it were me, I might be able to ask Funbaba to hand over the treasures and Hyunryong's relic. I might even be able to bring some fir trees back to Uruk. We can protect the forest's mythological beast, Funbaba, and also complete our mission. Isn't this the best of both worlds? After saying that, Gilgamesh looked at Enkidu happily. Gil, why are you looking at me like that? Is there a problem? Gilgamesh crossed his arms in front of his chest and said happily. As expected, Enkidu, you're becoming more and more like a human. Really? The reason why humans are called humans is because they have things that they need to protect. You're now racking your brains to think of a way to prevent us from getting into conflict with Funbaba, for me, and Hyunryong, and you're becoming more emotional. You can be said to be a normal person now. Gilgamesh looked at Enkidu's eyes that were more human and said in detail. Is that so, Gil? But why am I so calm now? Enkidu's eyes were slightly moist. Isn't that natural? Who would be happy to become a human? You're already a human. Then Gilgamesh stopped smiling. Your plan is pretty good, but if Funbaba doesn't listen to you, then there's only one way left. After saying that, he held Enkidu's hand and walked towards Funbaba. Get ready for battle. Funbaba looked at Gilgamesh and Enkidu. It had already noticed them when they entered the forest. Woo! Funbaba let out a low cry. My friend, do you still remember me? I'm Enkidu. Enkidu walked in front of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh and Enkidu's beautiful bodies seemed so weak in front of Funbaba. Woo! Funbaba nodded and stretched its head in front of Enkidu and touched Enkidu lightly. Enkidu also boldly touched Funbaba and smiled at Gilgamesh. Haha, Gil, look at Funbaba, it's so cute. Come and touch it too. Really? Will it swallow you when you're not paying attention? Gilgamesh swallowed his saliva. At this moment, the hero king turned into an obedient girl in front of this natural disaster. Ha ha ha, you don't look like the famous hero king now, Gil. I'll touch it. What's there to be afraid of? Gilgamesh said as he reached out his hand and touched Funbaba's nose. Chee! Funbaba suddenly raised its head and sneezed. This scared Gilgamesh so much that he jumped back. Ha ha ha, Gil! You'll definitely itch when you touch its nose. Enkidu covered his mouth and laughed. Gilgamesh also relaxed his body and looked at Enkidu, who covered his mouth and laughed. My friend, you've really become a human. It seems that I don't have to worry anymore. After the farce ended, Enkidu and Gilgamesh told Funbaba the reason why they came here. Funbaba didn't disappoint Enkidu and said that as long as they passed the test it set up, they could take away the treasures it kept. As for the trees, Funbaba said that it could quickly make the trees grow without any side effects, so they could take it away at will. After that, Gilgamesh and Enkidu passed the test very quickly. After all, both of them were not evil people. Naturally, they passed the test set up by Funbaba very quickly. During the test of strength with Funbaba, the cloth that Enkidu wrapped around Wuming's sacred sword, X-Silver, was damaged during the battle and revealed the X-Silver. Funbaba ended the test in excitement and announced that both of them could take away the treasures it was guarding. Enkidu and Gilgamesh were confused about Funbaba's excitement. Could it be that Master Hyunryong knows Funbaba, and that's why he reacted to the X-Silver? Enkidu said as he hugged the X-Silver. Who knows? Maybe that guy owes Funbaba money. That's why Funbaba became excited when it sensed Hyunryong's aura. Gilgamesh joked, All right, let's complete the task that Hyunryong gave us first. We'll talk about the rest later. Later, Funbaba brought Gilgamesh and Enkidu to the treasure cave. All right, let's get to work. Chapter 27. As he spoke, Gilgamesh placed one of his hands in front of him as if he was holding something. He clenched his fist and turned it around. After a series of mechanical clicks, a strange sword appeared in Gilgamesh's hand. Rather than calling it a sword hilt, it was more like a tool handle. Rather than calling it the heart of the sword, it was more like a cylinder with a precise structure. This was the key of the king's law that Gilgamesh had. It was one of the treasures of Babylon, the key to open and close the gate of Babylon. The gate was connected to the golden capital of Babylon, and there were a lot of treasures inside. Open, gate of Babylon. Following Gilgamesh's command, the key of the king's law began to move. The treasures in the cave were stored into the gate of Babylon one by one. Meanwhile, Enkidu was observing the weapons stored in the gate of Babylon to see if there were any weapons with X-Silver's aura. With meticulous manipulation, Gilgamesh and Enkidu took 3 days to store all the treasures into the gate of Babylon. However, the two of them began to discuss with a frown. Funbaba was lying on an empty ground, basking in the sun comfortably. Why isn't there any? It shouldn't be. Enkidu hugged X-Silver and leaned against Funbaba's stomach. Could it be that Hyunryong made a mistake? Gilgamesh leaned against a rock and rubbed his chin with one hand. I don't think so. After all, it's an important treasure of Master Hyunryong. There shouldn't be a mistake. After all, even Master Hyunryong knew that the noble phantasm was with Funbaba. Enkidu shook his head. As it heard its name, Funbaba, who was basking in the sun, let out a deep cry. Woo! Sorry for disturbing you. Ugh, after coaxing Funbaba to sleep, Gilgamesh complained. Enkidu, why don't I see you being so nice to me? Gilgamesh looked at Enkidu with resentment. All right, let's not make a fuss. This is the first mission Hyunryong Sama has given us. We have to complete it seriously. Hyunryong wouldn't set up a question that can't be answered. Since he asked us to come here, it must be here. Gilgamesh and Enkidu fell silent and began to think. The sun slowly moved to the center. At this moment, Gilgamesh seemed to have realized something and suddenly said, By the way, do you remember what Hyunryong said about the mission? What did he say? Isn't it to defeat Funbaba and retrieve the noble relic? Enkidu seemed to have realized something too. Are you saying that the key to the problem is Funbaba? Enkidu asked. Yes, think about it. Hyunryong said to defeat Funbaba, retrieve the noble relic, retrieve the treasure, retrieve the tree, and return to Uruk. In other words, Hyunryong didn't say that his noble relic is in the treasure that Funbaba is guarding. It's on Funbaba's body. Gilgamesh and Enkidu looked at Funbaba, who was sleeping soundly. But where is Hyunryong, Sama's noble relic on Funbaba? Its body is so big, there's no place to hide it. It can't be. It was eaten by Funbaba or Gilgamesh finished Enkidu's sentence. Funbaba is the noble relic. Now that I think about it, it's possible. After all, Hyunryong, Sama said to defeat Funbaba and retrieve the noble relic. There's a high possibility that Funbaba is Hyunryong's noble relic. This fits the reason why Funbaba suddenly appeared here. As if the mystery was solved, Gilgamesh and Enkidu let out a sigh of relief. The problem now is how to retrieve the noble relic. After all, it's impossible for us to kill Funbaba, but we can't let Funbaba follow us back to Uruk. Even if it's small, Funbaba might not follow us back. Gilgamesh facepalmed with one hand. That fella really knows how to create trouble for others. Why don't we go back and tell Hyunryong that his noble relic has become Funbaba? Enkidu looked at Gilgamesh and said, "Sai, that's the only way." Okay, Gilgamesh agreed. No need. Suddenly, a young voice came from the dense forest. Who's there? Gilgamesh immediately opened the gate of Babylon on his back and aimed his sword at the dense forest. Enkidu stood up immediately and held the hilt of X-silver with both of his hands, aiming it at the source of the voice. After some rustling, a young man with black hair and black eyes and a linen shirt walked out. He seemed to be about the same age as Gilgamesh and Enkidu. As for Funbaba, it raised its head and looked at the source of the voice. Its eyes were filled with excitement. After seeing the face of the newcomer, it immediately rushed over. Wait, Funbaba. However, what happened next shocked Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Woo, good. Funbaba's huge head kept rubbing against the young man, and the young man kept stroking the Funbaba. It was a scene of a master and a pet getting along well. Could it be? You're Hyunryong, master. Gilgamesh and Enkidu said in unison. Yo, Gilgamesh, shout in. Wuming stroked Funbaba's head and raised his hand to greet Gilgamesh and Enkidu. At this moment, Gilgamesh and Enkidu were really stunned. So, you turned back into a dragon because of that guy called Morgan Layfrey, and now you can control your ability and turn back into a human? This was because Wuming told Gilgamesh and Enkidu the truth and also told them his name. Therefore, Gilgamesh said with an "I'm very unhappy" expression, "This is unbelievable, Sien, Master Wuming." Enkidu also looked shocked. After all, Wuming's transmigration was not something that anyone could do. About that, I'm sorry for hiding it from you for so long. Wuming smiled bitterly and kept apologizing. Don't expect me to forgive you so easily. Thieves who lie to the king must be punished severely. Gilgamesh stared at Wuming with her beautiful eyes. However, this did not make Wuming back down. Instead, he looked at Gilgamesh with interest. All right, Gil, Master Wuming didn't do it on purpose. Let's put this matter to rest. Nah, Enkidu smiled at the two of them and tilted his head. This made Wuming and Gilgamesh blush. After all, after Enkidu became a woman, her charm was too great. So, is Funbaba your noble phantasm, Wuming? Gilgamesh was still not used to Hyunryong's new name. She stuttered as she spoke. Well, actually, I only found the exact location of my noble phantasm. I only found out that Funbaba was my noble phantasm when I secretly followed you guys here. No, strictly speaking, my noble phantasm and Funbaba had merged. After Wuming saw Funbaba, the connection between the noble phantasm and its owner was immediately connected. Therefore, Wuming finally confirmed that Funbaba was the noble phantasm. Merge, Enkidu said. Yes, although I don't know, Funbaba is my Yggdrasil. After saying that, Funbaba rubbed Wuming again. All right, let's go back. Funbaba can continue to stay here. Wuming also hoped that his noble phantasm would be more flexible. Therefore, he decided to leave Funbaba in the fir forest for the time being. Gilgamesh and Enkidu looked at each other and sighed. They did not say anything. After all, they had been busy for a few days because of Wuming's noble phantasm. Wuming asked Funbaba to create a large number of trees. After that, Gilgamesh and Enkidu brought a large amount of wood back to Uruk. Meanwhile, Wuming transformed back into his dragon form and returned to the mountain palace. Chapter 28. After Gilgamesh and Enkidu returned to the Uruk with the wood, the news that the king had defeated the mythical beast of the forest, Funbaba, obtained countless treasures, and returned with a large amount of wood began to spread like wildfire in Mesopotamia. It was as if someone was deliberately pushing the news. Of course, it was Wuming who pushed the news behind the scenes. His purpose was naturally to create prestige for Gilgamesh. As for Wuming, ever since he returned to his stone palace in the mountains, he had been staying at home and never came out again. However, Wuming would occasionally observe the Uruk through the statue of Hyunryong. To be honest, although Gilgamesh's rule had become brutal, the living conditions of the Uruk had become better. On a very peaceful day, a slight earthquake suddenly occurred in the Uruk. Half a day later, a god descended upon the Uruk. Because it was the year 2600 BC, although it was the end of the gods' era, there were still gods descending. In the gods' era, it was very rare for gods to descend. However, the ceremony still had to be held. Just as people were preparing the ceremony for this god directly rushed into Hyunryong's temple of worship. Dawn! Suddenly, this god broke a hole in the roof of the temple. Hyunryong, come out! A voice filled with seduction was heard. Goddess Ishtar, please don't make a ruckus in Hyunryong's temple. Also, please pay for the broken roof after you leave. As the chief priest, Enkidu slowly walked out from the temple. It's you? Humph! Where's Hyunryong? Hurry up and ask him to come out and pay for his debt. Ishtar angrily said to Enkidu while floating in the air on the legendary heavenly boat, Anna. However, Ishtar seemed to have recognized Enkidu. Lord Hyunryong is here. If you're sincere, you can see him. If you're not sincere, you can't see him. Enkidu seemed to hate Ishtar very much, and his tone was very unpleasant. I don't care if he's sincere or not. If he doesn't come out, I'll smash his temple. Ishtar looked like she was about to fight, as if she was really going to smash this place. Who is it? Why are you so angry? Oh, it's Ishtar. What brings you here? A shadow appeared on the statue in the center, and Wuming temporarily possessed it. Hyunryong, but the hero king you mentioned was a boy. Why is he a girl now? Ishtar angrily roared as if she had been deceived. Ahem, I thought you would come to me earlier. However, I was also kept in the dark about this. I didn't know that Gilgamesh was a girl. After all, Gilgamesh was only 3 years old when you met her. The shadow flickered. Wuming guessed that with Ishtar's personality, she must have gotten into some trouble that caused her to not pay attention to the Uruk for the past few years. To be honest, the past few years were just a nap for a god. Humph! Let me tell you, I've already destroyed Abafa Mountain. This is only the interest. I don't want anything else. I heard that the hero king is a peerless beauty. If you let her follow me and become my maid, I might consider forgiving you. Who do you think you are? You want Gil to serve you? Enkidu's little face was filled with anger. That's right, Ishtar. Don't even think about Gilgamesh. I won't allow it. The stone statue emitted a powerful wave, and in an instant, Ishtar was subdued by this wave. All right then, just you wait. Humph. After saying that, Ishtar rode the sky ship Horse Anna and left through the opening. With a flash of light, the shadow on the statue turned into a human figure and landed beside Enkidu. It seems that the earthquake from before was caused by the destruction of Abafa Mountain. Wuming said slowly, Lord Wuming, I heard that you've saved Abafa Mountain before. What was the reason? Enkidu asked curiously. I saved Abafa Mountain because of Gil. At that time, I brought the young Gil to Abafa Mountain for an adventure. Because Abafa Mountain is a spiritual mountain, I asked it to take care of Gil when he went up the mountain. When he went down the mountain, he met the goddess Ishtar. After realizing the goddess' intention, Gil said, Aren't you going to save him? Then, on a whim, he made an agreement with Ishtar. That's how Abafa Mountain was able to survive until now. However, it still couldn't escape the fate of being destroyed by Ishtar. Wuming said helplessly. Actually, Abafa Mountain was supposed to disappear more than 10 years ago. Judging from the current situation, it's actually the same. Lord Wuming, you don't have to be sad about this. Enkidu comforted him. Wuming was stunned. He smiled and shook his head. He wanted to say something, but his mouth was suddenly stuck. Wuming suddenly thought of an idea. I'm so sad. I need a caring kiss to recover. This time, Enkidu was helpless. Really, Lord Wuming, are you a child? Although he said that, Enkidu still tiptoed and kissed Wuming on the lips. This time, Wuming was nervous again. After all, he only wanted to make a joke. He didn't expect Enkidu to really kiss him. However, Wuming wasn't the kind of person who wouldn't eat meat that was already in his mouth. Wuming hugged Enkidu, who was kissing with his eyes closed. This scared Enkidu so much that he wanted to retreat. However, Wuming's big hands directly hugged Enkidu. Enkidu was nervous at first, but then he wrapped his hands around Wuming's neck. The two of them started a French kiss in the hall. Wuming, I heard that Ishtar was here. What's she doing here? Suddenly, a clear female voice came from outside the hall. Wuming and Enkidu were so scared that they quickly separated from each other. Gilgamesh walked into the lookout hall. The first thing he saw was a blushing Enkidu and a nonchalant Wuming. Gilgamesh frowned and said, You guys are so strange. Did something happen when I wasn't here? Enkidu quickly waved his hands. However, there was still a lingering charm on his face that couldn't dissipate. How? How could that be? Right? Right, Gil. Why did you come to the lookout hall? Yeah, Gil, did you miss me? Wuming also asked. No, to be precise, he was teasing him. Who would miss you? You narcissist. This made Gilgamesh's face turn red. However, he didn't care about what Gilgamesh had noticed before. I saw a stream of light crash into the lookout hall. I instantly guessed that it was Ishtar. However, what is she doing here? Although she is the Uruk city god, she hasn't appeared for a long time. I thought that guy was dead. Gilgamesh said with an arrogant expression. Wuming bet that if Ishtar heard this, she would definitely go crazy. Cough, she's here to settle old scores. She used the incident at Abafu Mountain many years ago to blackmail you. She said that she wants you to be her servant. Wuming said indifferently. What? Who does she think she is? She wants this king to be her servant. I am a hero king. How dare she humiliate me like this? Sure enough, there are no good gods. Gilgamesh was angry when he heard this. He also glared at Wuming. What does it have to do with me? Wuming thought. Although Ishtar was scared away by me, she must have gone to find her father god. With the god's love for Ishtar, plus the relationship between Enkidu and Gilgamesh, the gods will definitely take advantage of this opportunity. This time, the Uruk may face a disaster. Wuming frowned and said, Wuming, Sama is right. I even suspect that Ishtar came to ask for Gil because of father god Enkidu's idea. He wants to bring back Gil, who is the Sky Wedge. Enkidu's words were not unreasonable. After all, Enkidu's mission when he came to the Uruk was to bring Gilgamesh back to the gods. Well, I know. I will pay attention to the Uruk during this time. There is no other way. Just act according to the situation. Wuming looked at the stormy weather outside and said slowly, The Uruk is going to change. Chapter 29. Ever since Ishtar left, Wuming had started to set up various enchantments around the Uruk. After all, if the story of this world was the same as the one that Wuming knew, the mythical beast Sky Bull would descend soon. Although Gilgamesh and Enkidu had defeated the Sky Bull in the legends, the Sky Bull had wreaked havoc on the earth for 7 years. It was obvious how difficult it was to deal with a divine beast like the Sky Bull. After finishing the last rune, Wuming stood up. If that's the case, we should be able to reduce the Sky Bull's calamity. Wuming looked in the direction of a Uruk palace. I wonder how Gil and Shaowen's preparations are going. After Ishtar left, he helplessly told the two of them to prepare a chain to capture the Bull of the Sky. Since Enkidu was a man-made weapon, He volunteered to refine his own body. Because the purpose of my creation is to become Gil, who has 2/3 of his divinity, so my attribute is to restrain a god. Using my body to refine a chain will definitely be able to deal with a god. For the sake of the overall situation, and the fact that Enkidu's body wasn't severely damaged, Wu Ming decided to let Gil and Enkidu prepare to cast the chains, while Wu Ming carved the Lune runes to protect the Uruk. I think the god-opposing chains should be almost complete. After saying that, Wu Ming's figure flashed and disappeared. In the secret chamber of the Uruk Palace, Gilgamesh and Enkidu continued to add their own magic power to the flame in the center of the secret room. A chain-like object was surging in the flame like a fire dragon. Suddenly, an illusion appeared in the room. After the illusion disappeared, Wu Ming's figure appeared in the room. Wu Ming, sir. Gilgamesh and Enkidu's eyes lit up. Is the chain completed? Wu Ming looked at the two of them. We're just one step away from dripping our blood into it, Enkidu replied. Let's start quickly. I have a feeling that the sky bull is coming, Wu Ming said seriously. The three of them stood around the flame, forming a tripod. Why do we have to drip our blood every time we forge? Wu Ming thought gloomily. The three of them used different methods to drip their blood into the flame. After the flame absorbed their power, the flame's color began to change continuously. In the end, the flame's flames continuously changing color was absorbed into the chain. The chain rolled violently, and after waiting for a moment, the flame was extinguished. A silver chain with 2 golden wedges floated in the air. Wu Ming stretched out his hand, and the chain quickly flew into Wu Ming's hand like a bird returning to its nest. From now on, you'll be called Heaven's Chain, Enkidu, Wu Ming said. He ignored Gilgamesh and Enkidu's shocked expressions. After saying that, he threw the chain to Gilgamesh. After catching it in a hurry, Gilgamesh glared at him. What are you doing? Aren't you holding it? What if the sky bull comes? Wu Ming shook his head and said, This chain is for you to use, Gil. Wu Ming continued. Because Enkidu can't participate in the battle, I'm going to return to my dragon form to deal with the sky bull. Is that okay? Will it cause any harm to your body, Lord Wu Ming? Enkidu asked with concern. Wu Ming had told Gilgamesh and Enkidu the reason why Enkidu couldn't participate in the battle. In that case, Gilgamesh and Wu Ming would be the ones to deal with the sky bull. Even if the gods wanted to punish Gilgamesh, they wouldn't be able to do it. After all, they needed a king that could connect the gods and humans, and Gilgamesh was not a candidate. As for Wu Ming, as the origin dragon, the gods were just ants. Well, that was in front of the adult origin dragon. But even if it was Wu Ming, he could still run away if he couldn't win. Don't worry, ever since I accidentally turned into my adult dragon form and used my own power to transform back, I've mastered the method to transform myself. Don't worry about me. Wu Ming patted Enkidu's head and smiled. Enkidu blushed at first, but then he smiled. It's good that Lord Wu Ming is fine. Looking at Wu Ming and Enkidu, who were enjoying their lovey-dovey moment, Gilgamesh frowned and suddenly shouted, Hey, why don't you find a place to show off your affection? Can't you see that I'm still here? Gilgamesh snorted and walked out of the secret room with Enkidu. Is Gil jealous? Wu Ming and Enkidu looked at each other and laughed. At this moment, in the sky above the Uruk, the wind and clouds surged, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. The figure of a bull seemed to be coming out of the clouds. Gilgamesh hurriedly returned to the secret room. Wu Ming, it seems like the bull of heaven you were talking about is here. Gilgamesh said with a serious expression. Let's go. Let's meet this bull. Moo! A loud sound that sounded like a bull's moo came from the clouds. A huge hoof of a bull fell from the clouds. A cloud of dust flew into the air. Dong! Then, the full appearance of the sky bull was revealed. This was a divine ox with a graceful bearing, full of a peculiar sense of beauty. Its horns and hooves were all golden in color. Wherever it stepped, the ground began to dry up, and wherever it passed, the rivers began to dry up. This was the sky bull, the Uruk's bull of disaster. What? What's that? Is this God's punishment? God, please protect us. After seeing the disaster brought by the sky bull, the Uruk citizens began to worship the gods. Just as they knelt down and prayed to the gods, a golden light flew into the sky. Stand up and hide in your rooms. This is only a demon beast. Watch this king kill it. Gilgamesh had a silver chain wrapped around her arm. She waved her small hand and gave orders to the Uruk citizens. Although Gilgamesh's temperament changed greatly after she became an adult, she was still the Uruk hero king. Although the citizens were afraid of Gilgamesh, they trusted her more. They trusted their king. After the citizens hid, the chain on Gilgamesh's hand began to dance in the air. Crash! After the sound of chains colliding, the sky bull was tightly bound by the Enkidu. The sky bull couldn't help but howl angrily. Moo! It was hard to say whether the sky bull was powerful or the Enkidu was weak. The sky bull was breaking free from the Enkidu bit by bit. Roar! At this moment, a powerful dragon's roar was heard. A silver-white, noble, and mysterious dragon flew towards the direction of the Bull of Heaven. At this moment, the bolder Uruk citizens began to pay attention to this disaster. That's Lord Hyunryong. No one knew who said this, but the Uruk citizens walked out of their houses one by one and began to pray to Wuming. Wuming began to fight with the Sky Bull. Both sides fought back and forth, but because of the Enkidu, the Bull of Heaven's strength was reduced by 80% to 90%. The Bull of Heaven was at a disadvantage. In the end, Wuming's claw pierced through the Sky Bull's heart. Following the Sky Bull's low cry, the Sky Bull collapsed. Uruk citizens, this bull was created by the gods to destroy you. The gods no longer need you. Only I, the legendary origin dragon, the legendary dragon, have made a contract with your king, Gilgamesh, to protect you. Remember my words and worship your king. Hero King, Hero King, Hero King. Wuming stood on the corpse of the Sky Bull while Gilgamesh stood on Wuming's head and received the cheers of the Uruk citizens. The sun shone on Gilgamesh. At this moment, she was like a saintess, beautiful and powerful. Chapter 30. Inside Gilgamesh's dormitory. Gilgamesh had been in a bad mood ever since he defeated the Bull of Heaven. Enkidu brought a plate of fruits and placed it in front of Gilgamesh. Enkidu looked at the depressed Gilgamesh and couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong, Gil? You've been like this ever since you defeated the Bull of Heaven." Gilgamesh picked up a piece of fruit and bit into it. Wuming was the one who took the credit for defeating the Bull of Heaven, but in the end, he let me receive the cheers of the people. If it wasn't for the Uruk, I wouldn't have accepted this kind of stolen credit. Enkidu sat next to Gilgamesh and held her hand. So you know it's for the Uruk people. Look, I even show my face. But I'm a hero king. How can I accept this kind of fake honor? Gilgamesh is such a tsundere. Enkidu thought to himself, actually, this is your honor. Think about it. Lord Wuming is now inseparable from you. You're bound together for good or ill. It can be said that the two of you are now united. Don't you feel happy? Enkidu asked with a smile. Yes, Lord Wuming. Together. Together. Who wants to be with him? But if you think about it carefully, for the sake of the Uruk, I'll reluctantly accept it. Wuming, Sama was right. Gilgamesh is indeed the easiest woman to deal with in the entire Uruk. Enkidu thought, all right, where's the Bull of Heaven's corpse? Where did Wuming put it? Gilgamesh asked curiously. Master Wuming said that the Sky Bull's body is full of treasures. According to Master Wuming, the corpse of the Sky Bull has been sealed with a magic scroll for future use. Enkidu said as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Why didn't I realize that Lord Wuming was so thrifty? By the way, Enkidu, yes. What's wrong, Gil? As he spoke, Gilgamesh opened the gate of Babylon behind him, or rather, the gate of Babylon, and reached his hand into it as if he was groping for something. A moment later, a silver chain appeared in Gilgamesh's hand. The chain is, here, your stuff. After all, it was a chain forged from a part of Enkidu's body, so Gilgamesh believed that its owner was Enkidu. However, in this situation, Enkidu only smiled and pushed his hand away, rejecting Gilgamesh. This is the proof of our friendship. It belongs to you, Gil. Gilgamesh also smiled. I knew you would say that. However, This chain is more useful to Wooming, so I've decided to give it to him. Gilgamesh's words stunned Enkidu. That's right, as the origin dragon, Lord Wu-Ming will definitely have countless adventures in the future. As a divine weapon, Enkidu will definitely be very useful. Gil, take this Enkidu. As for Master Wu-Ming, I'll think of something. As he finished speaking, Enkidu's gaze became firm. Gilgamesh seemed to have noticed something. After a moment of silence, he sighed. You decided. A few days later, Ishtar drove the heavenly ship Anna to the Hyunryong Palace once again. However, this time, Ishtar's attitude was very respectful. Although Enkidu did not like Ishtar, she still came to Wu-Ming respectfully. Enkidu led Ishtar to the Hyunryong statue. Master Hyunryong, even if you win this time, can you return the corpse of the heavenly bull to me? An unnatural smile appeared on Ishtar's beautiful face. However, even if it was a forced smile, Ishtar was still a goddess of beauty. The figure of the Hyunryong statue appeared. Cough. You know, I've been hungry for a long time. Now that I saw such a big guy, I was excited and ate it. Sorry. Wu-Ming said with a I'm not full yet expression. You really know how to joke, Master Hyunryong. However, there's something I have to tell you. Enkidu is my father's child, so Ishtar smiled mysteriously. Then, she immediately flew away from the Hyunryong sacrificial palace on the heavenly ship Anna. The dragon figure changed, and Wu-Ming landed on the ground. Wu-Ming looked at Ishtar's back as she left. He could not get over it for a long time. Could it be that the gods are going to attack you, Enkidu? Enkidu, who was standing at the side, only smiled calmly after hearing this. That beautiful face made Wu-Ming feel like he was a god. Master Wu-Ming, don't worry. Although I'm still a divine weapon created by the gods, because of you, I've become the human girl, Enkidu. Enkidu leaned close to Wu-Ming and hugged him. Enkidu is willing to become the heavenly lock and accompany you. Please forgive my willfulness, Master Wu-Ming. After a while, Wu-Ming also hugged Enkidu. You're such a silly girl. Gilgamesh stood outside the Hyunryong palace with his back against the wall. He looked at the sky. I wish you happiness, my friend. 3 days later, the gods used the chain used to subdue the heavenly bull for Enkidu. Gilgamesh and Hyunryong were essential figures in the Uruk. They decided to punish Enkidu by turning her back into dirt and returning her to the earth. Ever since the Uruk high priest Enkidu disappeared, the newly appointed high priest, Du Shili, discovered that there was an additional silver chain on the stone statue of Hyunryong. Because the stone statue was lifelike, and the silver chain made it look even more lively. Because of the pain of his friend's departure and the revelation given by Hyunryong, the Uruk king Gilgamesh abandoned his people and began his journey to find the immortal grass of immortality. After going through untold hardships to obtain the immortal grass, he was eaten by a snake because of his carelessness. King Gilgamesh was enlightened and returned to the Uruk, which was still prosperous because of Hyunryong's protection. He focused on governing the Uruk and died a good death. Hyunryong also protected the Uruk until the connection between the people and the gods was severed. In the end, the people abandoned Hyunryong. Hyunryong also abandoned the humans and left the Uruk. In the end, the Uruk dynasty was destroyed. The legend of the origin dragon, Uruk Hyunryong, began in a new place. Chapter 31. A huge dragon was flying in a colorful passage. A silver chain was wrapped around the dragon's arm. The wedges on both ends of the chain were swinging freely. While the dragon was flying, it noticed an unusually small energy source that was moving forward. Out of curiosity, the dragon rushed toward the energy source. What entered its sight was an energy ball. What's this? Wu-Ming asked curiously. At the same time, Wu-Ming's huge dragon claw grabbed at the energy source. Anyway, with the strength and characteristics of the root dragon's body, Wu-Ming was not afraid of the space-time turbulence or space-time strangulation. Hence, Wu-Ming boldly grabbed at the energy ball. Just as Wu-Ming's dragon claw was about to touch the energy ball, it was as if the energy ball had reached its destination. A space-time door appeared in front of the energy ball. Usually, the space-time door would only appear when a certain existence reached a certain destination in the space-time tunnel. Just like when Wu-Ming first came into contact with the space-time tunnel when he first crossed over to the country of Shadow. That was also the entrance to the space-time tunnel. However, it did not open the space-time door. Instead, it sucked Wu-Ming in. If nothing went wrong, this energy ball would enter the door. Interesting, Wu-Ming's claw reached out and grabbed the energy ball. The energy ball seemed to have no consciousness. It followed Wu-Ming's claw and slowly fused with Wu-Ming. At the same time, a stream of knowledge-like memories surged into Wu-Ming's mind. This is a game. Wu-Ming was slightly surprised. After all, I've encountered such a strange thing. How can I not take a look? With that, Wu-Ming entered the space-time door that opened and disappeared. Then, the space-time door closed as if it had never existed. Wu-Ming opened his eyes. What entered his eyes was a huge hall. The hall was mainly dark. Flags of different designs were hung high on the ceiling. The top and the sides were covered with crystals that acted as light bulbs. Wu-Ming was facing a huge, gorgeous door. A red carpet extended all the way to his feet. At this moment, Wu-Ming was sitting on a crystal throne in his human form. The back of the throne extended all the way to the roof. The throne was on a platform with 3 steps. The carpet climbed up the steps to Wu-Ming's throne. Below the platform stood an old man who looked like a butler. Behind him stood 6 maids in combat attire. Next to the throne, next to Wu-Ming, there was a woman wearing a long white dress that covered her feet. There was a spiderweb-like golden silk ornament on her chest and white silk gloves on her hands. Her beautiful black hair reached her waist, and there was a pair of white curved horns on both sides of her head. She looked like a demon, and there was a pair of black wings at the back of her waist. Wu-Ming happened to recognize this creature. It was obviously a succubus. Seeing Wu-Ming looking at her, the succubus smiled and asked, "What's wrong, Sir Wu-Ming?" However, the smile on her face made Wu-Ming feel awkward. He felt like he was being stared at. I feel a slight fluctuation outside the underground tomb of Nazalek. Inform all the guardians to gather here tomorrow at this time. After that, Wu-Ming got up and walked to the door. "Yes, Sir Wu-Ming." The succubus smiled at Wu-Ming. "You could do whatever you want with the rest of the time." "Yes, Sir Wu-Ming." This was the answer from the rest of the people in the room. Creak. The heavy door was pushed open. Wu-Ming opened the door in front of him. "Then let me calm down first." Following the data stored in his mind, Wu-Ming came to a room. When he opened the door, he saw a luxurious royal bedroom. Wu-Ming flew and threw himself on the luxurious bed in front of him. This is giving me a headache. What Nazalek Yggdrasil completely virtual reality game. The unknown energy ball that Wu-Ming came into contact with in the time tunnel was actually a guild stronghold in a virtual reality game invented by humans in another world. The name of the guild was Nazalek's Underground Tomb. Because of the shutdown of the server, the guild leader guarded it alone until a second before the server shut down. Due to an unknown accident, the guild brought the soul of the human to this world. Because of Wu-Ming's accidental contact, the soul of the human was repelled and sent back to the original world. Wu-Ming replaced him and came to this world. Let's not talk about the power of this world first. I'm very curious about what interesting things will happen when the game transforms into a physical object. For example, even if the resurrection was considered a miracle in the world of the moon, it should be very common in the game. Then, what will happen when the game transforms into a physical object? Wu-Ming turned around and patted his arm. "Enkidu, are you okay?" A silver chain appeared on Wu-Ming's arm, flashing with a faint golden light. "Yes, Master Wu-Ming, I'm fine. I didn't expect to be able to travel with you." This chain was Enkidu's transformation. Previously in Uruk, Wu-Ming used the Lune runes and his own transformation to successfully deceive the gods. After Enkidu used a secret technique to create the Heaven Lock, Enkidu, Wu-Ming wrapped it around his hand. Rather than being put into Dragon's Nest by Master Wu-Ming, I'd rather be in Master Wu-Ming's hand. Therefore, Wu-Ming wrapped the Heaven Lock, Enkidu, around his hand. Wu-Ming touched the Heaven Lock, Enkidu, and said slowly, It's been hard on you, Xiaowen. No, to be able to follow Master Wuming, I was created as a weapon. My wish is to be treated as a person by Master, to be loved by Master, and to be used by Master. Right now, I'm really happy. The heaven lock, Enkidu, flashed and spoke, revealing her everything. Xiaowen, go and rest first. It's your first time going through the space-time tunnel, so you're probably still not used to it. Yes, Master Wuming, I'll go and rest first. As she spoke, the heaven lock, Enkidu, dimmed and became the same as a normal chain. Then, let's take a look at this guild's information. As he spoke, Wuming closed his eyes and began to look at the data in his mind. After a long time, Wuming opened his eyes. I see, this guild is quite interesting. The underground tomb of Nazalik was originally a checkpoint, but because it was conquered by the first members of Anziergong, the system reward became a stronghold, which was a guild. After the modification of the members of Anziergong's guild, it created the entire underground tomb of Nazalik, Anziergong's large guild. I wonder how strong the other world Anziergong transmigrated to is. I'll go and find out after tomorrow's meeting. As he spoke, Wuming fell asleep. Please don't dream of Merlin. Chapter 32. The next day, Wuming woke up early in the morning. Wuming had arrived at the underground tomb of Nazalik late last night. In addition, Wuming had traveled through time and space for a long time. After a night of rest, he was no longer tired. Because the order from yesterday was to gather at night, Wuming decided to walk around the underground tomb of Nazalik himself. Wuming picked up a ring from the table and put it on his finger. Moved to the first floor. In an instant, Wuming's figure flickered and disappeared. That ring was the guild ring of the underground tomb of Nasalik, Ainsworgong. Other than entering the underground tomb of Nasalik to verify his identity, it also had the ability to move around the underground tomb of Nasalik without restriction. What entered his eyes was a hall filled with stone coffins. Stone pillars supported the hall and were evenly distributed around the hall. The stone coffins were also distributed according to the ratio. Wuming could clearly sense that every sarcophagus had a magical reaction, as well as the reactions of unseen creatures around them. They were probably the monsters guarding the first floor of the underground tomb of Nasalik. As expected of the underground tomb of Nasalik, let's not talk about the strength of these monsters. Just looking at them is enough to scare people. Wuming didn't care about this and continued to walk toward the door of the hall. As soon as he walked out, he saw a slightly desolate courtyard. Although it was called a courtyard, it was actually a graveyard. Stone tablets were erected in the courtyard. Needless to say, the ground in the courtyard was filled with monsters. The courtyard was surrounded by a 3-meter-tall wall. In front of Wuming was the entrance to the graveyard. At this moment, it was daytime in this world. Wuming looked at the vast sky and couldn't help but sigh. As expected, no matter which world it is, the sky is beautiful. After staying on the first floor for a while, Wuming observed the second to the 8th floor. He had to admit that the people of Ainsworgong had all kinds of strange tastes. There were a total of 10 levels in Nazalik's underground tomb. The first 3 levels were the graveyard, which fit the name of a tomb. The 4th floor was a massive underground lake. This floor was a little special, as there were no NPCs here. This was because the NPC on this floor was Graham, a large stone puppet with no self-awareness. Activating it required a lot of time. The 5th level was an ice field, where the cold winds were fierce and bone-chilling. The 6th floor was a jungle, but there was an arena in the middle of the jungle. The structure was very similar to the Colosseum in Rome. The 7th floor was a lava zone, and the temperature was frighteningly high. The 8th floor was a wasteland. The NPCs on this floor were also special. As for what was special about them, that would be explained later. The 9th floor, which was the floor where Wuming had slept last night, was a royal suite. After all, this was originally a guild stronghold in the game. Players would also enjoy it, so this floor was set up. The 10th floor was between the thrones that Wuming had been in when he arrived at the underground tomb of Nazalik yesterday. This floor was the room. It wasn't big, and was only used for decoration. After all, the players discussed things on the 9th floor. The 10th floor was just a symbolic building. After strolling around, it was almost time for the scheduled gathering. Wu-Ming directly teleported to the throne on the 10th floor. The scene in front of him changed, and Wu-Ming arrived in front of the throne. There were all kinds of members of the opposite sex gathered under the throne. Demons, bugmen, dark elves, vampires, and so on. He saw the succubus who had served the throne yesterday arguing with a girl in a dark purple princess dress. The girl's skin was as pale as a corpse. Only the skin on her hands and face was exposed. The rest of her body was wrapped in clothes. Her silver hair was tied into a ponytail behind her head, and the princess dress on her lower body bulged like a cake. I remember, she seems to be the guardian of the 1st to 3rd floors. Because they saw Wu-Ming's arrival, everyone quickly stood in a row. Everyone, offer your loyalty to the Supreme One, the succubus ordered, and the guardians began to kneel on one knee to greet Wu-Ming. Guardian of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors, Shadia Bradford. Greetings, Lord Wu-Ming. The first was the girl who was arguing with the succubus. Guardian of the 5th floor, Cocytus. Greetings, Lord Wu-Ming. Cocytus was a huge blue insect with iceberg-like armor on its back and shoulders. Guardian of the 6th floor, Unwavering. Greetings, Lord Wu-Ming. A dark elf who wore men's clothes and spoke cheerfully and looked like a boy. Same guardian of the 6th floor, Mare Bellafiora. Greetings, Lord Wu-Ming. This was a dark elf who wore women's clothes and spoke shyly and nervously, looking like a girl. The guardians of the 6th floor were a pair of dark elf twins. That's right, the older sister in men's clothes and the younger brother in women's clothes. If Wu-Ming hadn't read the information, he wouldn't have thought that the nervous, shy, introverted mare in cute women's clothes was a boy. Guardian of the 7th floor, Demiurgos. Greetings, Lord Wu-Ming. Demiurgos wore a British suit and had a metal tail on his back. The tip of the tail was burning with a faint black flame. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and had slightly pointed ears. If one didn't look at the tail behind him, anyone would think that he was an outstanding businessman. Chief Guardian, Yair Bella. Greetings, Lord Wu-Ming. The succubus from yesterday, Yair Bella, lowered her head and reported to Wu-Ming. What's going on? This gaze is comparable to Maeve's. I really don't know what the player who designed Yair Bella is doing. Other than the guardian of the 4th floor, Kagandua, and the guardian of the 8th floor, Victim, all the guardians of the other floors are in front of you. Supreme, please give the order. We will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Wu-Ming sat on the throne and looked at them quietly. After a moment, Wu-Ming spoke. The main reason I called you here today is to tell you about the situation in the underground tomb of Nazalek. The guardians raised their heads slightly and looked up at Wu-Ming. The underground tomb of Nazalek has been moved to another world due to an accident. Looking around at the guardians, Wu-Ming continued. I took a look this morning. The underground tomb of Nazalek is on a plain. There are no signs of activity within a kilometer of it. This is undoubtedly a good thing. The reason why Wu-Ming stayed on the 1st floor was because Wu-Ming used magic to detect the surroundings of the tomb. As aberrations, if we were moved to a human gathering place, it would be troublesome. In the game Yggdrasil, there are only 3 races for players: humans, subhumans, and aberrations. Humans were categorized as dwarves, elves, and so on. Subhumans were categorized as goblins, ogres, and so on. As long as they were not humans or subhumans, they were all aberrations. For example, slimes, bugmen, demons, and so on. Of course, Wu-Ming was a dragon in the minds of these NPCs. He used a secret technique to switch between human and dragon forms. From now on, the underground tomb of Nazalek is on the highest alert. Yes, Lord Wu-Ming. Now, let's talk about your problems. Chapter 33. There was a long hole in the wall in front of Wu-Ming that looked like a cupboard. There was a twisted scepter floating in the hole. The tip of the scepter was in the shape of a cup, and there were 7 snakes coiled clockwise in the cup. Finally, the snake heads poked out of the cup, and each snake had a gem in its mouth. The 7 gems of different colors shone with a mesmerizing light. Wu Ming reached out his hand, and the scepter automatically floated into Wu Ming's hand. Holding the twisted scepter, Wu Ming looked at the twisted black and purple souls that appeared in the cup of the scepter. He could not help but feel helpless at Ain's Ergong's bad taste. This should be a guild weapon, right? The so-called guild weapon referred to the core of a guild. Once the guild weapon was destroyed, the guild would disintegrate. Therefore, guild weapons were usually placed in the core of the guild for protection. However, Ain's Ergong's guild weapon was a powerful weapon. According to the information, the staff of Ain's Ergong itself was a divine weapon. The 7 gems in the 7 snakes at the tip of the scepter were also rare divine weapons, and it was a set of equipment. The power of the 7 gems was not just 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to 7, but it was far greater than that. This made the staff of Ain's Ergong comparable to a world-class item, or even greater. Yggdrasil World Tree S weapon grade classification was as follows: low grade, mid grade, high grade, heritage grade, relic, legendary grade, and divine weapons. Divine weapons were generally top grade, but Yggdrasil World Tree had world-class items. The so-called world-class items were the 200 top-grade items in Yggdrasil World Tree. The power of these top-grade items could only be matched by other world-class items. Among the 200 top-grade items, the strongest 20 world-class items were specially called 20. These 20 items had the ability to severely disrupt the game's balance. Because of this, these 20 world-class items could only be used once. After using them, they would disappear. In the game, these 20 world-class items would disappear after being used. After that, they would reappear somewhere in the Yggdrasil World Tree. According to Wu Ming's memories, Ain's Ergong was the guild with the highest number of world-class items. They currently had a total of 11 world-class items. Originally, they had 12 world-class items, but one of them was taken away by an enemy guild. In the Yggdrasil game, the guild with the second highest number only had 3 world-class items. From this, it could be seen how powerful Ain's Wugong was. Among the 11 world-class items that belonged to Ain's Wugong, 2 of them were ranked 20 world-class items. These 2 world-class items were stipulated by the guild members that they could only be used when the enemy used an item of the same level. The staff of Enrich. Wu Ming could not help but sigh. Wu Ming couldn't help but think as he looked at the large amount of information about the scepter. The people of Ain's Ergong must really love their guild. After all, the process of making this scepter was too difficult. If it were not for the difficulties of daily life, Wu Ming believed that the members of Ain's Ergong would have persevered until the server was shut down. If that's the case, let me strengthen the name of Ain's Ergong, Wu Ming said as he raised the staff of Enrich. This could be considered as a form of consolation for these NPCs who had lost their parents. After Wu Ming stored the staff of Enrich into Dragon's Nest, he used the ring of Enrich to teleport to an office-like room. At this moment, Demiugos was already waiting in the office. Seeing Wu Ming arrive, Demiugos quickly knelt down on one knee. Master Wu Ming. Wu Ming waved his hand to signal Demiugos to get up. Get up, Demiugos. You don't have to kneel every time you see me. Just bow. Yes, Master Wu Ming. Demiugos stood up and put the paper in his hand on the desk. Master Wu Ming, these are the statistics of Nazarik's underground tomb and the preparation plan for exploring the surroundings of Nasarik. Please take a look. Hearing this, Wu Ming sat in the office chair behind the desk. He picked up the information that Demiugos had compiled and began to read. The overall performance of Nazarik's underground tomb hasn't changed, but the consumption of gold coins is lacking. Wu Ming asked without raising his head. Why is Nasarik running out gold coins? Demiugos also shook his head. No, after the other Guardians and I tested all of Nazarik's production performance, we only suffered a slight loss of gold coins. However, we can no longer obtain Yggdrasil World Tree gold coins. After a while, Nasarik will be in danger. I don't know if the gold coins of this world can be used for Nazarik's underground tomb, so I have stopped the consumption of unimportant gold coins. Wu Ming, who was still flipping through the information, heard this, and the emblem on his arm flashed. Crash! A bag of jewelry and gold nuggets fell on the table. This is the treasure I collected from other places. Go and see if it can be used for Nazar's operation. Yes. Demigos picked up the bag on the table. Regarding the exploration of Nazarik's surroundings, cancel the plan. I will go personally. Demigos was shocked and knelt down on one knee. No, how can we let Lord Wu Ming take the risk? If you're worried, you can let us Guardians explore. Please take back your order. Putting down the information, Wu Ming said helplessly, Don't worry, Demigos, I will bring my men. In the current situation, it is wise to send the highest combat power. If there is an existence that even I can't defeat, it will be useless even if you go. Lord Wu Ming, you also said that there's an existence that even you can't defeat, so it is wise for us to explore. After that, Wu Ming and Demigos did not speak. A moment later, Get up, Demigos, I have made up my mind. At worst, I will bring Yerbed. Yerbed was Nazarik's guardian, so he had the strongest defense. Whether it was his own defense or the protection of a specific person, Yerbed had the strongest defense. Yes, Lord Wu Ming, I wish you the best of luck. That's all. The plan will be implemented in 3 days. Let's first operate Nazarek properly. Yes. Then please forgive me for taking my leave. Go ahead. Demigos turned around and left the office. After that, Wu Ming leaned on the soft back of the chair and let out a long sigh of relief. This is a different world, a different world. How can I not take the risk? I am a traveler. 3 days later, in the library on the 9th floor, Wu Ming was tidying up all kinds of magic books. After all, there were many practical spells in Yggdrasil, such as detection, anti-reconnaissance spells, and teleportation gates, which were more practical for Wu Ming. All right, that's all for now. As expected of one of the strongest guilds, the members of Ains Wugong really can't be underestimated. There were a lot of books in the library, although more than half of the books were biographies and background stories, and some of them were guides. Magic books only took up a small portion, but the number of books was still shocking. Wu Ming had been reading for the past 3 days. He had only spent some time organizing the books to be stored in Dragonist, but the collection of books did not affect the library at all. Yerbed should be waiting for me in the throne room now. As he spoke, the ring of Ains Wugong on Wu Ming's hand lit up, and Wu Ming disappeared. Wu Ming's journey to the other world was about to begin. Chapter 34. On the endless grassland, a green creature that looked like a bear or a deer was running. Taking a closer look, the creature carried 2 people on its back, a man and a woman. The man had black hair and black eyes. He was wearing Sumer-style clothes and looked very exotic. The woman had black hair and golden vertical pupils. She had 2 twisted horns on her head. She was wearing a white dress and had a pair of black wings behind her waist and abdomen. Although the woman was beautiful, she was obviously not human. What a strange magical beast, Lord Wu Ming. Abed sat on Baba's back and praised. Is that so? Is there no such magical beast in Yggdrasil? Wu Ming lay on Baba's back and basked in the sun. Well, although there are similar magical beasts, I have never heard of weapons and equipment turning into magical beasts. That's right. Baba was the magical beast Baba that Wu Ming took away when he left Babylon. It had already fused with Yggdrasil. Because the grassland was relatively large, Demigos chose a mount for Wu Ming to travel on. After Wu Ming refused, he took Yggdrasil out of Dragonist and made it appear as Baba. Under the amazed gaze of the Guardians, Wu Ming held the hand of Abed, who had no regrets in his life, and sat on Baba's back. After that, before the Guardians could react, Wu Ming used the ring to teleport to the first floor of the great underground tomb of Nazarek, directly avoiding the guards that the Guardians had assigned to Wu Ming. In the midst of the chaos, Wu Ming successfully escaped from Nazarek with Abed. Now that I think about it, I have to let them complain for a while when I go back. Wu Ming patted Baba's back and said directly, Funbaba, determine the direction of someone's life and move in that direction. Woo! Funbaba let out a low cry and ran faster. Because of Funbaba's special ability and Yggdrasil's ability, Funbaba could control things with the wood attribute, including detection and so on. Therefore, Wuming handed the task of finding people around Nasaric to Funbaba. By the way, just call me Villo in front of outsiders. Yes, Lord Wuming. Yeah, Urbeta should lie down too. Funbaba's back is very comfortable. Hearing this, Yair Bey's eyes lit up, and his expression became terrifying. Yes, Lord Wuming. Hey, what are you doing? Lie over there, don't be afraid to lie on me. That won't do, Lord Wuming. In order to prevent an enemy attack, I have to stay close to protect him. I think you're just taking advantage of me. Go away. Lord Wuming, what the hell is going on? Funbaba, who was running, shook its head helplessly like a human and increased its speed again. Soon, Funbaba stopped in a forest that was not too dense. Wuming, who was on its back, panted tiredly. Urbeta stopped first. There's a situation in front. Urbeta's face was also flushed, and he was panting heavily. Yes, Lord Wuming. Wuming got down from Funbaba's back and wanted to walk forward. What's going on with Urbeta's character? Is the player who designed her a pervert? After getting rid of the messy thoughts in his heart, Wuming looked forward. Wuming took a closer look. Houses were lined up on a flat ground. There weren't many of them, only the number of a village. Although the houses were simple, they were full of vitality. However, the ground and walls of the village were now full of dark red liquid, which was disgusting. That's blood. Knights in full body armor wielded swords and killed unarmed villagers one after another. At this moment, a pair of sisters escaped from the village in the direction of this forest. However, behind the two of them were two soldiers. Coincidentally, the younger sister of the sisters fell because she was too young. Quick, Nim, get up quickly. We have to get out of here quickly. Because she often did farm work, the older sister's physical fitness was obviously much better than the younger sister. She pulled the younger sister up from the ground with a little strength. Okay, I know, sister, Nim said while holding back her tears. Okay, let's run. Just as the older sister was about to pull the younger sister and run again, an exasperated voice sounded. Run. Where do you think you're going? A knight who slaughtered the villagers stood behind the sisters. I can't believe I was delayed by you two brats. I'm so angry. The knight roared and swung his sword at the sisters. Nim, the older sister quickly hugged the younger sister. At the same time, she also closed her eyes. Clank! The expected pain did not come. Instead, there was a sound of metal colliding. How is this possible? The knight let out a panicked voice. The young girl boldly turned around and saw a black-haired, black-eyed young man wearing a foreign race's costume standing in front of the knight. The knight's sword was firmly held by the young man. Seeing this, the young girl widened her eyes. I thought it was some special event. In the end, this is some high-level conspiracy, Wuming said in boredom. With Wuming's many years of experience in politics, he could almost guess why the knight slaughtered the villagers for no reason. Just in time to try out the magic I learned these few days. Wuming exerted force in his hand and said softly, Dragon Thunder. A large amount of blue lightning emerged from Wuming's body and passed through the sword in Wuming's hand to the knight's body. Ah! The knight screamed and then fell to the ground. His body was emitting black smoke as if he was roasted. Seems like the strength of this world isn't very high. Wuming thought. Monster. The other knight, who was chasing after, saw his companion die in an instant. He screamed in fear and turned around to escape. Wuming waved his hand. The knight who did not have time to escape was instantly wrapped by thick vines that grew out from the ground. Blood flowed out from the gaps in the vines. Seriously, can a knight like you be called a knight? You're a disgrace to the knights, Wuming said in disdain. Woo! Funbaba slowly walked out from behind Wuming. So beautiful. The two sisters who had never seen such a sacred Funbaba exclaimed. Wuming laughed involuntarily. After all, Funbaba was known as a divine beast. "Are you two okay?" Wu Ming asked. We're fine. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir." As the elder sister, the girl quickly thanked Wu Ming. The younger sister next to her also did the same. Right? Right, sir, please save our villagers." After the girl thanked Wu Ming, she suddenly remembered the villagers who were still suffering and sorrowfully begged Wu Ming. "Please, please." The girl's younger sister continued in her slightly clumsy but cute way. Wu Ming looked at the two sisters and said sternly, "I know, you two come with me." "Thank you, sir." Just as Wu Ming was about to leave with the two sisters, Yair Bade, who had finished changing his equipment, suddenly spoke. "Please wait, Sir Villo." Chapter 35. What's wrong, Yair Bade? Wu Ming asked. Wu Ming looked at Yair Bade, who was wearing a full body armor, and asked, Lord Vero, you are an honorable supreme. These lowly humans are not worthy of your protection. Please allow me to execute them." Then, Bade raised the black axe in his hand. "Wait a minute, Bade." Wu Ming sighed helplessly. "Whether they are worthy of my protection or not, let's talk about it after the crusade against the enemy." After a moment of silence, Bade put down his axe. "Yes, Lord Wu Ming." The sisters looked at the master and servant in front of them, as if they hadn't reacted yet, and didn't say anything. "Funbaba, Wu." With Wu Ming's order, Funbaba behind him began to move toward the village. The scene changed, and the armored knights were still wantonly slaughtering the villagers. Screams, cries of fear, begging for mercy, and wild laughter were incessant. Suddenly, one of the knights seemed to have encountered something and let out a scream. "What happened?" A knight who seemed to be a captain and didn't have a mask on his helmet shouted. What is this? Don't come over." Many huge vines as thick as a person grew under the feet of the knights and wrapped around the soldiers one after another. The knights screamed and began to pray to the gods. "God, please save me. My God, Lord God." Then, the knights who were wrapped by the vines stopped making any noise. Only the huge tree stumps formed by the vines were left. What the hell is this? The captain was still rational and began to issue orders. "Prepare to retreat. Send a signal for the horses and archers to come over." However, it was already too late. The huge vines sped up their growth, and soon, all the knights' feet were entangled. "Quick, come and save me." Another guy, who was also not wearing a mask like the captain, shouted from the side. "I'm not someone who should die here. Quick, save me. No matter what, it doesn't matter if it's your health or anything else. Hurry up and save me." The squad leader couldn't believe that the guy who was yelling hysterically could be heard. "Captain Balius," he said in surprise. Suddenly, a light, low voice was heard. "Woo!" A huge green creature that looked like a bear or a deer slowly walked over. "What is that?" The captain, who was still rational, asked in surprise. The green creature stomped its foot, and the vines instantly wrapped around the wailing knights. In an instant, only the captain who was still rational was left. The sword in the captain's hand fell to the ground. He had completely given up. The vines had already wrapped around his lower body. "Don't worry, those soldiers are still alive." The squad leader raised his head in surprise to see a young man walking over from afar. "After all, I still need to obtain information from you." Wu Ming waved his hand, and vines began to slowly wrap around the knight's upper body. "Is that so? Thank you for sparing my life. However, I believe that my companion won't do anything." Ugh. The vines had completely wrapped around the soldier. "You're the only one who still looks like a knight," Wu Ming said calmly. The rest of the villagers fell into a dead silence. After a while, under the arrangement of the village chief, the villagers temporarily rested in the undamaged houses. The village chief, on the other hand, welcomed Wu Ming. In the village chief's house, Wu Ming picked up the simple cup of water provided by the village chief, took a sip, and listened to the village chief introduce the village. "Khan Village, is it?" "Yes, Khan Village's geographical location is not very good. It happens to be in the middle of 3 countries. The village chief said with a hint of sadness. After some questioning, Wu Ming lied that he was a magic chanter who cultivated deep in the mountains. Wu Ming originally said that he was a magician, but it seemed that in this world, people who used magic and magic were called magic chanters, so Wu Ming called himself a magic chanter. Wu Ming used information as a reward to offset the village chief's suspicion. After all, in this village where no one knew when something would happen, it was really hard to be at ease. According to the village chief, Khan village belonged to the Restige kingdom and was located in the southeast corner of the kingdom. The Restige kingdom, the Bahaz Empire, and the human supremacy of the Syrian theocracy were located in the middle of the mountain range that ran through the north and south. According to the map provided by the village chief, the kingdom was in the northwest corner, the empire was in the northeast, and the theocracy was in the south of the 2 kingdoms. Khan village was in the middle of the 3 kingdoms. The kingdom and the empire were not on good terms, and there would be war all year round. The location of the war was in the plains near the border city of the Restige kingdom, Yalantir. According to the village chief, the knights who slaughtered the villagers were given the empire's badge, so it could be inferred that it was the empire's so-called. However, Wu Ming felt that it was not that simple. After all, the village chief also said that the kingdom and the empire were at war all year round, and there was no benefit for the empire to slaughter the villages at the border of the kingdom. Moreover, these knights were praying to the gods before they were wrapped in vines. It seems that I have fallen into some conspiracy again. After asking the village chief for the necessary information, Wu Ming bid farewell to the village chief and went out. Lord Wu Ming. Yair Bade had been guarding outside the door. As for Funbaba, Wu Ming asked it to check if there were any other enemies in the surroundings. After all, the captain just said that he was going to send a signal. I have gathered enough information. In short, the underground tomb of Nasrik is safe in this world for the time being. Yes, what should we do with the inferior creatures that were captured by your magic beasts? Wu Ming pondered for a moment and asked. Summon the subordinates of Nasrik who have special invisibility skills and transport all the knights to Nasrik. Funbaba just told me that there are still some knights nearby that have been captured by Funbaba. Also, transport those knights to Nasrik and get more information from them. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. I will contact Demiugos right away. Yair Bade placed his hand on his temple near his ear and began to contact Demiugos. Oh right, remember not to kill them first. Also, do some anti-reconnaissance work. After all, we don't know if these people have tracking magic or something like that on them. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. After saying that, Wu Ming walked away and began to walk around the village. As he walked, Wu Ming heard a lot of crying. Wu Ming looked and saw that it was the families of the dead villagers. Among them were the sisters that Wu Ming saved. They were crying on the corpses of their loved ones. Sigh, I am used to seeing people die. In the end, I still can't help but feel melancholy over tears. Whether it was in Connaught or Camelot, Wu Ming was used to seeing all kinds of deaths. In the end, Wu Ming still felt melancholy over these things. It wasn't that he was sad. It was just that he couldn't stand it. I remember that your name is Onli, right? Wu Ming half squatted in front of the sister that Wu Ming saved. Yes, Lord. The girl named Onli choked and said, Don't cry. In any case, I'm a powerful magic caster. I have a way to revive your loved ones. As soon as he said that, the villagers who had lost their loved ones all knelt on the ground and begged Wu Ming. Lord Villo, please save my son. Lord Villo, please save my sister. All right, all of you get up. Move the villagers' corpses to an empty space. Hearing that, the villagers started to move. Yair Bade, who had finished talking with Demi Rogoth, walked over and asked Wu Ming in confusion. Lord Villo, are you going to use a rare resurrection tool to revive these lowly worms? Hearing that, Wu Ming couldn't help but laugh. All right, Yair Bade. Although I am not a human, I like humans very much. Moreover, I'm going to use the resurrection magic that I have learned. I will not use a resurrection tool. Besides, I don't have one, but Lord Villo, all right, Bade. Wu Ming interrupted Yair Bade's speech. If I die, you will definitely try your best to revive me, just like how these villagers begged me. Put yourself in my shoes and forgive my stubbornness." After that, Yair Bey didn't say anything else. Chapter 36. The villagers had already moved the corpses to the village square. Everyone made way for Wu Ming and waited quietly for him to cast the spell. Although I also learned a resurrection spell because of interest, I have never tried it before. I don't know if it will work on these villagers. Wu Ming shook his head and walked forward. The sixth order spell, Angel's Return. Wu Ming accidentally saw this spell in Nazarik's library. In the Yggdrasil world tree, magic was divided into 10 levels. There were 1st to 10th level spells. In Yggdrasil, there was also a supreme level spell, which was the 11th level spell. Supreme level spells were more like skills than magic. There were many restrictions. Not only did it take time to cast, but there was also a limit to the number of times it could be used per day, and it could not be cast continuously. The cooldown after casting could not be offset in Yggdrasil. Whether it was a Krypton item or something else, it could not offset the cooldown time. Of course, these were all obtained from Wu Ming's data memory. Wu Ming chanted the name of the spell, waved his hand, and a holy light rose into the sky. The light shot into the sky and gathered into a large sacred cloud. The cloud transformed into the appearance of an angel. A large number of sacred white feathers slowly fell on the villagers' corpses and integrated into the villagers' bodies. The angel made a sacred and indescribable sound toward the sky and dissipated. After the villagers' corpses merged with the feathers, the wounds on their bodies disappeared, and their skin color changed from pale to healthy. Under the villagers' excited eyes, the corpses that were originally lying on the ground opened their eyes one by one. The family members of the resurrected villagers, including Onli and her sister, rushed up with the villagers' cheers and hugged their family members fiercely. The sixth order spell is so powerful, it scared me. It seems that I have to go back to Nasarik to find some items to use. Wu Ming did not expect this spell to be so amazing. After all, the Dragon Thunder that Wu Ming used before was also a sixth order spell. Wu Ming, Sama, Yauda has been waiting outside the village with the special forces. At this time, Yauda walked behind Wu Ming. "Stay low for now. I don't think it will be so simple this time." "Yes." Wu Ming couldn't help but sigh as he turned to look at the villagers who were crying with joy. "To be able to see you all so happy, my efforts have not been in vain." After all, ever since Wu Ming could remember, he had always thought that he was a human being. After knowing that he wasn't, Wu Ming still had special feelings for humans. After settling down the villagers who had just been revived, the village chief grabbed Wu Ming's hand and thanked him profusely. "Thank you so much, Sir Villo." Wu Ming felt a little helpless against such a village chief. All right. Village chief, you've thanked me enough." "Village chief, you've just suffered a disaster. You should go and arrange the situation of the village." "All right, Sir Villo, thank you so much." Just as Wu Ming was about to say something polite, a villager suddenly ran over. "Not good, village chief. A group of cavalrymen is approaching." "What? This... Sir Villo." Seeing the village chief's expression, how could Wu Ming not know what was going on? "I understand, village chief. Let the villagers hide first. I'll go with you to see what's going on." "All right." After a while, Wu Ming and the village chief stood at the entrance of the village. A group of cavalrymen with different equipment rode over. The leader was a man in his 30s. The man rode his horse to the front of Wu Ming and the village chief and said, "I'm Gejif Stolanov, the head warrior of the Riesti kingdom. I heard that there were cavalrymen from the Empire causing trouble nearby. I've been ordered by the king to suppress them. I'm currently patrolling the villages." "The head warrior of the kingdom," the village chief said in shock. Wu Ming looked at the village chief in confusion. The village chief hurriedly said, I've only heard that the head warrior of the kingdom is the strongest man in the kingdom. That's just the king's love and respect. It's just a title, not worth mentioning." Gejif looked at Wu Ming again. "May I know who you are?" Nice to meet you, head warrior of the kingdom. My name is Villo Silenst. I'm a magic chanter who was passing by and saw the village chief being slaughtered. I'm here to help. As if he heard something unbelievable, Gejif quickly got off his horse and walked to Wooming. He held Wooming's hands. Thank you so much for saving this village. Looking at Gejif's sincere eyes, Wooming was stunned for a moment. Seems like he's a good official who cares about the people. I'll save him. You're welcome, head warrior. Suddenly, someone from Gejif's troop ran over. Head warrior, there are many figures nearby. They're closing in on the village. Seeing this, everyone frowned. Seems like someone can't sit still. Soon, Gejif's troop and Wooming retreated to the outermost house of the village chief. Wooming looked at Gejif, who was observing the situation outside, and asked directly, "Who are those people outside?" Gejif retracted his gaze and looked at Wooming. To be able to mobilize so many magic chanters, it could only be the Si Lien cult. And it's a special troop directly under the head priest, one of the Si Lien cult's 6-color holy books. After hearing this, it seemed to confirm Wooming's thoughts. Seems like they're coming for you, head warrior. Gejif was stunned for a moment. After thinking carefully, he realized that they were really coming for him. Oh, I didn't expect the cult to want to get rid of me. After that, Wooming said with a smile, "You're very lucky, head warrior." What do you mean? Gejif was puzzled. Seeing that you have a good temper, I've decided to help you. Hearing this, Gejif was overjoyed. Really, Lord Silenst? Thank you so much. After all, Gejif and the others had learned from the village chief that Wooming had a very powerful magic beast. Then, head warrior, please wait for me here. As he said that, Wooming began to walk out of the house. Wait, Lord Silenst. No matter what, they have the advantage in numbers. Please don't be rash. Good Gejif still felt that it was better to be cautious and advised Wooming. Don't worry, head warrior. Also, just call me Villo. Silenst is too long. As he said that, he left the house with Yair Bade and advanced towards the enemy. Lord Villo. Good Gejif looked at the two with a complicated gaze. Slowly, Wooming brought Yair Bade to a very close distance with the enemy. The enemy did not seem to be afraid of Wooming and did not stop them. Suddenly, the atmosphere was tense. Chapter 37. Negan Gullible Lewin, as the head sergeant of the Light Scripture, one of the 6-color scriptures of the Si Lien theocracy, Negan never thought that he would fail or die in a place like this. After all, he was the head priest of the Light Scripture. The report said that the knight who was wrapped in vines was killed by the demonic beast under the command of that man. Negan looked at the man and woman walking over and immediately gave an order. Attack. The other priests immediately took action. The mechanical creatures that looked like angels raised their lightsabers and flew towards Wooming and Yair Bade. However, when these angels approached the two, they were destroyed by an invisible attack. They turned into starlight and disappeared in the air. What? Not only was Negan shocked, but the other priests were also shocked. The angel army was destroyed in an instant, and it was done using an unknown method. A sense of crisis rushed into Negan's mind, and he immediately summoned the High Angel, the Surveillance Angel, to go forward and meet the attack. Surveillance Angel. After hearing the order, the angel floating behind Negan, who was much bigger than the other angels, summoned a staff. Under Wooming's slightly crumbling expression, the Surveillance Angel used the short staff to smash down on Wooming. That's right, it smashed down with the short staff. Pump! Wooming grabbed the short staff and said with a forced smile, "Summoning a staff to smash people. I don't know what to say anymore." While everyone in Negan was shocked that Wooming caught the Surveillance Angel's attack with one hand, Wooming pointed at the angel in front of him. Heavenly fire. In the blink of an eye, the Surveillance Angel was completely enveloped by a large amount of holy light golden flames until everything was reduced to nothingness. What? The High Angel was hit in one hit. Negan couldn't believe his eyes. Wooming had been through so much, but he didn't have many means of fighting. When he was in Ireland and Britain, Wooming only relied on his own martial arts and the noble phantoms in his hands, namely the powerful X-Silver, Meteor Silver, and Yggdrasil, that could control plants and vitality, and some loon magic. In Babylon, Wuming, who transformed into a dragon, relied on the power of faith of the Babylonians. After all, after Wuming left, faith could no longer be used. That was the limitation of faith. The root dragon that was not in Babylon was no longer the Babylon Hyunryong, but the legendary root dragon. That was the limitation of faith. After that, Wuming came to this world. Thinking about it carefully, Wuming's abilities were as follows: martial arts and wisdom, loon magic, that he learned from Skaha, X-Silver, Meteor Silver, S-Light Cannon, Yggdrasil, S ability to control plants and vitality, Funbaba that fused with Yggdrasil, Enkidu's Heaven Lock that wrapped around his arm, and the magic that he just learned from Nazark's library. Ignoring his martial arts and noble phantoms, in a situation where he was empty-handed, other than the loon magic and the magic that he just learned from Yggdrasil, World Tree Game, he had no other means of attack. Funbaba was included in the noble phantoms. Enkidu was still in a deep sleep because he was not used to the space-time tunnel. Although he was in a deep sleep, Wuming could still use Heaven Lock. The loon magic required the engraving of the loon runes before it could be activated. The invisible attack from before was the magic that Wuming engraved on the way here. Therefore, the only magic that could be used now was the magic in Yggdrasil, World Tree Game. After all, the first to 10th tier spells were all instantaneous. With Wuming's magical power as the root dragon, even if he was a young root dragon, his magical power was incomparably huge. At the very least, it would take him more than a year to continuously cast a 10th tier spell before he ran out of magical power. And that was excluding the fact that Wuming could recover his magical power. Logically speaking, Wuming should not be able to learn the magic of Yggdrasil, World Tree. After all, Wuming was not a player. It seemed that it was because of the bloodline of the root dragon. As long as there was a grimoire or someone to teach him, learning the magic of Yggdrasil, World Tree, was very easy for Wuming. By the way, although Wuming was often injured, the body of a young root dragon was actually abnormally tough. If Artoria wanted to break through Wuming's defense with Excalibur, she would have to use her noble phantoms. Moreover, that was only breaking through his defense. If she wanted to seriously injure Wuming, she would have to use an unknown but abnormally powerful black gas like Morgan Le Fay. Of course, ever since he was corroded by the black gas, Wuming's resistance to things like poisons and curses had basically reached the limit. To put it simply, regardless of the level of the poisons or curses in the world, they could no longer affect Wuming. This was the characteristic of the root dragon that was born from the root of all worlds. Otherwise, those that could transform into dragons will be called root dragons. For example, special abilities such as traveling through space and time without being affected, and learning the magic of Yggdrasil, World Tree, that should not be able to learn, were all brought about by the bloodline of the root dragon. Don't worry. If this thing doesn't die after being hit by Tier 9 magic, I'll have to look at it in a different light, Wuming said with a wave of his hand. Although Nazarek was an alien guild, the spells that the members of the guild organized were not only of the Dark series. The Skyfire just now was a Faith-type spell. Although it was strange to use Faith-type magic to attack an angel, Wuming did not think too much about it. The Skyfire spell had a special ability that increased its attack power on non-human enemies. In Yggdrasil, World Tree, apart from races such as humans, elves, and dwarves, demi-humans, aliens such as orcs, goblins, ogres, vampires, bugmen, demons, and dragons all had attack power. Coupled with the support of Wuming's powerful magic, how could a mere level 45 monster withstand it? That's right, Yair Bade was the one who told Wuming the monster's level. According to Yair Bade, there were such monsters in Yggdrasil, World Tree. Is it a coincidence, or... Wuming pondered. What? Tier 9 magic? How is that possible? Negan shouted as he broke down. Mama, calm down. You're the leader of these priests after all, Wuming said with a smile. Impossible. How can anyone know a Tier 9 magic? Negan seemed to have broken down as he took out a crystal from his pocket. Item? I remember that crystal item seems to be used to seal spells from the 1st to the 10th level. After thinking for a while, Wuming swung his arm and a silver chain flew out from Wuming's palm. Before Negan could react, the chain snatched the crystal item from Negan's hand. After putting away Enkidu, Wuming looked at the item in his hand and then tossed it to Yair Bade, who was beside him. Go back and see what's inside. Yes, Lord. Lord Villo. Then, Wuming looked at Negan's group. As for you, Just as Wuming was about to say something, the sky shattered like a piece of glass in front of Wuming's group. Just in case, I even learned a high-level counterintelligence spell called Mirror Reflection. The Motherland is spying on me. Negan was in disbelief. Wait. Negan suddenly shouted as if he had broken down. Sir, no. My lord, we know I'm fine by myself. Please let me go. I'll give you any amount of money. I beg you. Don't embarrass yourself here, lowly creature. Yair Bade suddenly shouted. The only thing you can do now is to quietly kneel on the ground and gratefully accept Lord Villo's gift of death. Low-class creature, Purgatory said in an uncertain tone. Since Yair Bade said so. Wuming closed his eyes and opened them again. A golden vertical pupil appeared in Wuming's eyes. Accept your fate, lowly creature. Chapter 38. Under Wuming's orders, Yo captured the members of the sacred scripture of sunlight and brought them back to Nasaric. Wuming used the excuse that the sacred scripture of sunlight could be resurrected to order Yo not to kill the members of the sacred scripture of sunlight. This was cruel to the members of the sacred scripture of sunlight. After all, Nasaric was an alien guild created by a group of insane gamers. After Nasaric transformed into a physical body, Nazaric's interrogation methods were devastating. Moreover, Wuming had ordered them not to kill the members of the sacred scripture of sunlight. It was obvious that the members of the sacred scripture of sunlight had been offended. However, this had nothing to do with Wuming. The battle between Wuming and the members of the sacred scripture of sunlight was witnessed by some villagers and good Jefu. Wuming used the excuse of feeding the magical beast to transfer the members of the sacred scripture of sunlight to Nasaric. Since he had gathered enough information about this world, Wuming decided to bid farewell. Is that so? Is Lord Villo leaving? Good Jefu asked thoughtfully. Lord Villo, I would like to thank you again. Thank you for saving my parents. Thank you. Anli and Nim heard that Wuming was leaving and hurried over to express their gratitude to Wuming. Wuming could only smile helplessly. Oh yes, Anli, I have something for you. Wuming extended his hand to Yo Bade. Yes. Yo Bade took out 2 objects that were the size of a cow's horn and handed them to Wuming. This is a flute that can summon goblins. Use it well. Anli was taken aback. She wanted to reject the gift, but Wuming stuffed it into her hands. Lord Villo, this is too precious. It was a magical item, and it was extremely powerful for a village girl like Anli. Just take it. It's not a very valuable item, Wuming said with a smile. Wuming was not wrong. These were the tools that he had asked Yair Bade to bring out for Nasaric. According to the information in Wuming's mind, these 2 pairs of flutes could only summon a dozen low-level goblins. Of course, that was in the game. Though the low-level goblins weren't enough to protect the village, the goblins could teach the villagers how to defend themselves. Although Khan Village was not too far away from Nazaric's underground tomb, Wuming did not plan to protect Khan Village forever. As for who to give the item to, Wuming undoubtedly gave it to the pair of sisters he met first. Sir Villo, are you interested in going to King City with me? Good Jefu suddenly asked. May I know why you are inviting me? From the battle between you and those people, I can see that Sir Villo is a very powerful magical chanter. After all, I am a citizen of the kingdom, and it is necessary for me to recruit talents for the kingdom, Good Jefu said seriously. Please forgive my refusal, Sir Good Jefu. I still have some family members to take care of. I won't go to King's City with you, Wuming said naturally. When Yair Bade heard the word family, Her expression under the helmet instantly became emotional. Is that so? That's a pity. Then, I wish Sir Villo a safe journey. Gudjefu was not angry at Wu Ming's refusal. He only smiled faintly. If I have a chance to go to King City, I would like to ask Gudjefu to lead the way for me, Wu Ming said jokingly. Of course, Gudjefu said, leave it to me. After that, Wu Ming summoned Funbaba from the forest near Khan village. Sister, look, it's that beautiful deer. Don't talk nonsense, Nim. That's Sir Villo's magical beast. So this is Sir Villo's magical beast? It's really an excellent magical beast, Gudjefu praised. Wu Ming also got on the Funbaba with Beard. He waved at Gudjefu, Onli, and the others and walked into the distance. After a while, Wu Ming noticed that Beard, who was sitting behind him, seemed to have some questions. What's the matter, Beard? Beard hesitated for a while and asked, Sir Wu Ming, do you like humans very much? Hearing this question, Wu Ming smiled faintly. What about you? What do you think of humans? Beard answered without hesitation. Weak, inferior creatures. What a beautiful scene it would be to stomp them to death like insects. After hearing Baird's words, Wu Ming had an expression that said, I knew you would say that. Baird, I quite like humans. After all, I was adopted by a kind old man when I was born. Sir Wu Ming was adopted by humans? Baird was very surprised. Ah, yes. You guys didn't exist back then. Back then, I thought I was a human. Wu Ming recalled the past and said slowly, Is that why Sir Wu Ming likes humans? Not only that, Baird. Wu Ming sat back and sat at the same level as Baird. Humans are very mysterious creatures. Their bodies are weak, their strength is weak, and they often fight among themselves. They are vulgar and sad. But humans love life, love peace, are positive, united, and tolerant. Humans are such a strange species. They never bow down in the face of difficulties, never give up, and never retreat. They have the courage to face everything. They know how to learn and know how to create. Even if their innate abilities are insufficient, they will work hard to grow. Wu Ming looked at Baird. Baird, I don't expect you to treat humans well. At the very least, don't be so hostile to them. After saying that, Baird did not say anything else. Wu Ming smiled helplessly. Consider it my willful request. What do you think, Baird? I understand, Sir Wu Ming. I'll treat humans seriously, whether it's to kill or to save them, Baird said as if he had figured something out. Thank you, Baird. Please don't say that, Sir Wu Ming. Baird smiled happily. After coming to this world, you're the only one who's accompanied us. We have to thank you. After hearing Baird's words, Wu Ming seemed to have thought of something and fell silent. I'm sorry, Baird. Why are you sorry, Sir Wu Ming? Baird was puzzled. It's nothing. Anyway, let's go home. Wu Ming gave up on thinking. Forget it. I'll let nature take its course. When Nasrik has established himself in this world, I'll tell them the truth. Yes, Sir Wu Ming. Under the setting sun, a man and a woman rode on a beautiful beast and traveled slowly. Chapter 39. The office on the 9th floor of Nazarik's underground tomb. Wu Ming sat in the office chair and listened to Baird reading the report. Also, the magic sealing crystal contains a level 60 devil, the radiant Lord's angel. According to the person called Purgatory, this angel once killed the devil god that ravaged the continent. Currently, this is the situation in Nasrik. Please take a look. After Baird finished reading, he placed the document in front of Wu Ming. Cillian Cult Nation. 6-color scripture, huh? Wu Ming picked up the document in his hand and started reading. A cult nation that exterminates all non-human creatures above humans? The Cillian Cult Nation and our Nasrik are really incompatible. Wu Ming rubbed his forehead helplessly. Such a nation was really disadvantageous to Nasrik. Don't come into contact with the cult nation for now. Set up a devil beast near Khan village that can avoid being detected by intelligence magic and has stealth abilities. That's all for now. Yes. You've worked hard, Yair bade. Go back and rest. Wu Ming leaned back on the chair and said to Yair bade. How could that be? Lord Wu Ming, as long as it is for the sake of Jizun, the person I love the most, I will do anything, seeing that your Bedford had turned into an infatuated girl again. Wu Ming couldn't help but turn his head away. I still want to complain. What's with Yair bade's broken character? Suddenly, a charming voice traveled into the room. Excuse me. Satya pushed open the door and walked in. Satya, what's the matter? Wu Ming asked curiously. I'm here to admire Lord Wu Ming's majesty, Satya said with an infatuated expression. Oh, is that so? Then you should be satisfied. Satya, you can leave now. I still have important matters to discuss with Lord Wu Ming, Yair bade said expressionlessly. Aya, old woman, you're so annoying. Are you in such a hurry because it's past its expiration date? Satya said with an I knew it expression. Then is there anything else on your body that can be eaten? You're like a bunch of food samples. In fact, Yair bade looked at Zacia's chest. I'll kill you, old hag. Who are you calling past their expiration date? Bastard. Wu Ming slammed the table as he watched the dark Yeni duel. All right, you two shouldn't quarrel as soon as you see each other. Speaking of which, why don't I know what Xiataya is going to do? Wu Ming asked. It's like this, Lord Wu Ming. I'm about to leave for battle and meet up with Sebastian. It will be difficult for me to return to Nasric for a while, so I'm here to pay my respects to you. It seems that Yair bade and Demiugos had discussed and sent some people to gather information. Wu Ming thought, this is the first time you've come into contact with this world. You must be careful in everything you do, Wu Ming said earnestly. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. Then, I'll take my leave first. Following the sound of the door closing, Satya left the office. Lord Wu Ming, what are you going to do next? Yair bade asked. I'm going to the treasury to get something. Yeah, Beta, go do what you need to do. Don't worry about me. Wu Ming stood up and stretched. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. However, Demiugos may come back to report something to you later. Yair bade bowed slightly and said respectfully, Is that so? Then, let Demiugos wait for me here. I'll be back soon. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. After giving his instructions, Wu Ming teleported to the entrance of the treasury. Wu Ming's dragonist was upgraded into a noble phantasm. Coupled with Wu Ming's constant nourishment, the space inside dragonist was now very vast. In fact, Wu Ming came this time to put all the useful things in Nazaric's treasury into dragonist. After all, Wu Ming didn't want to live a life without anything. It was more convenient to put the useful things directly into dragonist. Wu Ming actually only learned a few spells in Nasric. The 5th tier Magic Dragon Thunder, the 6th tier Magic Angel's Return, the 9th tier Magic Heavenly Fire, and the Magic Skills Mirror Reflection, Dragon Thunder, and many other high-level spells. They were mainly used to deal with humans. Angel's Return was a low-level resurrection spell without side effects. Wu Ming chose to learn this resurrection spell because he didn't know the performance of resurrection magic, such as the resurrection target's level must not exceed 50, the corpse's integrity, and so on. Heavenly Fire was a large-scale killing spell used to deal with non-human creatures. Mirror Reflection was a high-level passive skill. Passive skills were not divided into levels. They were only divided into high-level, intermediate, and low-level. This skill was not only used to guard against intelligence detection magic, but also had absolute resistance to mind control, mind reading, and other mental attacks. That was the advantage of the game. After all, a game couldn't be so detailed. For the time being, Wu Ming learned these few spells. There were several more practical Wu Ming spells that Wu Ming didn't learn yet. For example, Advanced Item Creation, Advanced Item Destruction, Advanced Item Identification, Portal, and so on. The magic books Wu Ming sorted out before were the magic books for these skills. After Wu Ming talked to Pandora Yakut, the keeper of the treasure vault, he took some of the treasures that were unnecessary or redundant for Nasric. Because the game has become reality, Wu Ming had no way to know the function of the items in the treasure vault except for the special interpretation items. Fortunately, the staff of Anzi Wergong works. In this way, Wu-Ming used the staff of Anzi to interpret the function of the items one by one and chose some items that were useful to him and did not conflict with the purpose of protecting Nasrik. In the treasure vault, there were other supreme beings' spirit halls. In fact, it was the cenotaph. The last player who stayed behind sorted out the equipment of other players, and those equipment were worn by some stone soldiers. It would automatically attack those who wore the ring of Anzi. Wu-Ming was shocked when he came here. Looking at these somewhat crooked sculptures, Wu-Ming felt the players' love for other players, for Anzi, for Nasrik, and even for Yggdrasil. Don't worry, since I'm here, I will make it flourish, and I won't let your efforts over the years go to waste. After all, Wu-Ming's strength was ready-made, and Nazarik's strength was built by those players. After leaving the treasure vault, Wu-Ming returned to his office. Demiurgos was standing in front of his desk, thinking about something. After hearing someone came in, Demiurgos looked back and quickly bowed. Wu-Ming, Sama, you're back. Ah, Demiurgos, is there anything you want to tell me? Wu-Ming walked to the office chair and sat down. It's about Nazarik's finances. Demiurgos adjusted his glasses and continued. After you gave me the gold coins of this world, during testing, I found that as long as they are processed into objects the size of gold coins and have a certain value, they could be used to support Nazarik's operations. Wu-Ming's eyes lit up. That's great. I happen to have some gold and jewelry that I don't need right now. I'll give them all to you. With that, Wu-Ming took the item that Demiurgos handed over. It was a special leather bag with a large mouth. When he opened the bag, what greeted his eyes was a membrane that looked like water. Wu-Ming pointed his palm at the membrane, and a large number of treasures swarmed out of Wu-Ming's palm and fell into the membrane. This bag was called the Infinite Backpack, and it was an item in the Yggdrasil game. It could store unlimited items, and the weight of the bag would not change. After a while, Wu-Ming sealed the bag and handed it to Demiurgos. Looks like I have to find a lucrative job for Nasrik. Wu-Ming began to plan in his mind. Chapter 40. 10th floor, Nasrik Library. Wu-Ming was reading a magic book intently. Advanced Item Creation. As his voice fell, Wu-Ming had a magnificent greatsword in his hand. Wu-Ming waved it casually. As the greatsword danced, it produced friction with the surrounding air, making a sound as if it was tearing the space. The skills in the game are really abnormal. With high-grade item creation alone, you can create weapons with high durability and power. High-level item creation was a skill that could create simple weapons or items in Yggdrasil, but its effect in the game was a bit weak. After all, powerful weapons or items in the game couldn't be created with high-level item creation. For example, divine artifact and world-level items. It stood to reason that this skill shouldn't change even after the game was transformed into reality, but advanced item creation. As he chanted the spell, a silver chain appeared in Wu-Ming's hand. Then Wu-Ming chanted another spell. Advanced item identification. Wu-Ming said as if he understood something. So that's how it is. You can even create Enkidu. Is it because I'm not a player in the game, so I can use this skill? The Enkidu created with advanced item creation had the same effect as the original Enkidu. The more magical power provided during the creation, the stronger the chain would be. But there was a drawback. The items created with advanced item creation would not have any growth, and it couldn't increase the magical power output to improve its performance. That was the only drawback. However, Wu-Ming took advantage of one of the advantages of advanced item creation. The created items would not disappear because of being placed for a long time. They would only be destroyed. In other words, as long as it was maintained, the created items would always exist. Of course, it still depended on what kind of item was created. If it was a weapon, it would be fine, but if it was a crystal item, it would disappear and turn into powder after a few uses. Advanced item destruction. With a bang, the great sword that Wu-Ming had created earlier turned into motes of starlight and disappeared into the air. This skill isn't bad either. If I use it, it can completely rival shatter magic. Crushing magic, as the name suggested, was a type of magic that specialized in crushing. It was extremely dangerous. If something went wrong, even the caster himself would be crushed. Well, let's leave it at that for now. Wu Ming put away the fake heaven lock in his hand. Let's go to Ylanter to exchange some gold coins later. 500 gold coins? What do you think? 1,000 gold coins? Don't. Deal. Walking out of the shop, Wu Ming shook the money pouch in his hand. Seriously, this shop owner is really interesting. He actually wants to buy the weapon I created for 500 gold coins. Does he think I'm easy to bully? Wu Ming said in boredom as he looked at the bulging money pouch in his hand. I didn't expect there to be such a thing as platinum coins. Is it worth 10 times more than gold coins? As for whether the shop owner lied to him or not, Wu Ming wasn't worried. After all, Wu Ming found a large shop with a good reputation. Even if he was cheated, Wu Ming still had the means to find a shop owner. It's almost time. It's time to go back. Wu Ming found a rather secluded alleyway. Portal. As the voice fell, a constantly changing black and red circular portal appeared in front of Wu Ming. Without hesitation, Wu Ming walked in. In a conference room similar to a luxurious living room, a group of guardians sat there discussing something. A constantly changing black and red circular portal appeared in the room. A group of guardians immediately stood up and put on a respectful look. Wu Ming walked out of the portal. Wu Ming-sama. Wu Ming waved his hand, stopped the guardians from saluting, and sat on the main seat. Clatter! With the sound of gold coins colliding, a bag of platinum coins fell on the table. Demigod, these are the platinum coins I got from Ylanter. You can test them later. Yes, sir. Demigod reached out and put away the bag of platinum coins. Y'all, have you finished modifying the villager's memory? Yes, Sir Wu Ming-sama, but because you made a lot of noise that day, I followed your order and modified some of their memory. Y'all raised his hand and replied with a smile. Okay, Khan Village is like this for the time being. Remember to send some troops to lurk near Khan Village. They don't need to be strong, but they must be good at hiding. Yes, Sir Wu Ming-sama. Male, has Nazarik's concealment been completed? This was the decision made by Yair Bade and Demigod during their discussion. After Wu Ming agreed to hide Nazarik, this task was given to Male. Yes, Sir Wu Ming. Nazarik's surroundings are hidden with soil and trees. The sky is also hidden with illusions. There should be no problem, Male said weakly. Yair Bade, keep in contact with Zaisha and Sebastian. If anything happens, retreat immediately. Yes, Sir Wu Ming. Don't worry. Yair Bade smiled sweetly. However, when Wu Ming saw this smile, he remembered Yair Bade's infatuated nature. Ahem, I'm going to the royal capital. Yes, I'll immediately prepare the guards to accompany you. Yair Bade's smile changed and said seriously. There's no need for the guards. I'm going alone. When Wu Ming said this, the guardians were unhappy. Please reconsider, Sir Wu Ming. Please bring some guards, Sir Wu Ming. The supreme honorable safety is the most important. Sir Wu Ming, please reconsider. Hearing everyone's words, Wu Ming smiled bitterly. All right. I'll choose someone for Nazarik to bring along. Wu Ming looked around at the guardians and saw the worry in their eyes. You guys were originally NPCs. Is the supreme honorable's life force after becoming physical? You guys are really like a group of children who can't grow up. To be honest, Wu Ming already had a sense of belonging to Nazarik. After all, Wu Ming had been on the move ever since he left the ordinary world where he had nothing to worry about. From the country of shadows to Connaught, from Britain to Babylon. Although he stayed in some places for longer periods of time, Wu Ming was still a passerby. And it was unintentional that he came to this world. Really, I'm a little envious of the players of Ains Wugong. If only I could travel through time with Nazarik. That's right. Wu Ming seemed to have thought of something and suddenly stood up. What's wrong, Sir Wu Ming? Yair Bade looked at Wu Ming with a worried face. The other guardians also looked worried. Sorry, I just thought of something. That's all for the meeting. I'll take my leave first. After saying that, Wu Ming hurriedly opened the portal and stepped in, leaving a group of guardians staring at each other in bewilderment. Chapter 41. After Wu Ming left the meeting room, he immediately went to his bedroom. Wu Ming stretched out his hand, and a twisted golden scepter appeared in his hand. I hope my idea can be realized. With that, Wu Ming crossed his legs and activated the floating function of the scepter of Anziwergong, allowing it to float in front of him. Wu Ming closed his eyes and began to permeate his mind power into the scepter of Anziwergong. 7 days later, outside Wu Ming's bedroom on the 9th floor of Nasrik, a group of guardians surrounded Wu Ming's bedroom door. Annabelle, what happened to Master Wu Ming? It's been 6 days since the planned departure time. You just said Master Wu Ming ordered us not to disturb him. Don't worry. How can I not be worried? If something happens to Lord Wu Ming, well, Beta had a heartbroken expression on his face as he yelled heartbreakingly at a female servant who was standing guard outside the door. Annabelle said very calmly, Master Yair Bade, I am also very worried about Master Wu Ming, but Master Wu Ming has clearly stated that no one can enter without permission. I am very sorry. All right, Yair Bade. Dimugos, who was standing at the side, pushed up his glasses. Since Master Wu Ming said this, he must have his reasons. Let's leave it at that for today. Go back and continue the work that Master Wu Ming gave you. That's right. Although we come to Master Wu Ming's bedroom every day to wait for Master Wu Ming to come out, we cannot slack off on the work that Master Wu Ming gave us. Cositas said with an unusually hoarse voice as he breathed out cold air. Let's go, Yair Bade. Master Wu Ming will be fine. Yair Bade pulled Yair Bade aside. How can I? That fake breast is finally not in Nasrik. How can I miss such a good opportunity? That, I think it's not good to sneak away while Satya is not here, Malay said weakly. Just as the commotion was going on, a large amount of magic power came from Wu Ming's room. The magic power even destroyed Wu Ming's bedroom door. The large amount of magic power in the room condensed into a magic power mist that kept leaking out of the door. Master Wu Ming. In an instant, the guardians, including the maid Annabelle, panicked. I'm fine. Wu Ming's voice came from within the magic power mist. This can't be wasted. With that, the mana mist that had been coming out of the room began to shrink back into the room. Finally, all of the magic power mist was the staff in Wu Ming's staff. Was the staff of staff. However, at this time, although the appearance of the staff of staff did not change, the guardians who had been lucky enough to see this staff found that Nazarik's secret treasure, the staff of staff, had become more sacred, and those who had not seen this staff, including Annabelle, were in awe of it from the bottom of their hearts. Master Wu Ming. Everyone present saluted to Wu Ming, knelt on one knee, and bowed their heads to greet him. Seeing this scene, Wu Ming smiled bitterly. I clearly told them not to salute like this and just bow, but they refused on the grounds of not being disrespectful to Master Wu Ming in public. Really, a group of troublemakers. Get up, everyone. Yes. After everyone got up, Wu Ming continued. If you want to know what happened, I'll explain it in the conference hall later. Yair Abed, get someone to clean up the room. Annabelle Gamma, go get ready and follow me to the royal city later. Yes. Master Wu Ming. WH. Yes. Master Wu Ming. A moment later, the guardians gathered in the room where the previous meeting was held. The guardians sat on the chairs and quietly looked at Wu Ming, who was holding the staff of staff. Guardians, now I want to announce something that is worthy of me, worthy of you, and worthy of the entire Nasrik to be excited. Wu Ming said with a charming smile. After the guardians heard this, they all sat up straight. Before the announcement, I want to ask a question. Wu Ming glanced at the guardians and said, Do you have any thoughts about the world we were in before Yggdrasil? As soon as these words came out, the guardians' bodies tensed up. The guardians stood up together, knelt on one knee, and bowed their heads. Where Master Wu Ming is where we are, and we will always follow Master Wu Ming. Now, we have the ability to travel to other worlds, and this ability is the treasure of Nasrik that I have, the staff of staff. All the guardians' eyes lit up. However, this was Wu Ming's lie. Unfortunately, we can't choose the worlds we can travel to. Then, Master Wu Ming, you mean that the first world we travel to might be Yggdrasil, and the last world we travel to might be Yggdrasil. Demi-Hugos pushed his glasses and said, "Correct, but there is also the possibility that we will never return to Yggdrasil. After all, there are too many worlds. My biggest interest is traveling, so I may leave Nasric in the future." Master Wuming. Hearing what Wuming said, everyone was anxious, especially Yair Bade, who looked like he was about to cry. "He's already crying," Wuming complained in his heart. "Don't worry, I will take you and our Nasric with me." Now, the plan has changed. Except for the members of Nasric who are outside, all members are not allowed to go out without my permission. Use message to inform Sebastian and Zaisha to collect the necessary information as soon as possible and return to Nasric as soon as possible. Leave this matter to the Guardian's chief supervisor, Yair Bade. "Yes, Master Wuming." Wuming looked at Demi-Hugos. Demi-Hugos. "Yes, Master. Raise the alert level of Nasric again to beyond the highest alert level. I believe that as the commander of the Guardians, you will be able to do it well." "Yes, Master Wuming, I will not disappoint you. I will definitely break through the highest alert level of Nasric. As for the matter of the staff of Anzi-Urgong traveling between worlds, you can spread it on your own. The first and third levels will be given to Cositas. The fifth level will be given to Yuri and Mare, and the eighth level will be given to Demi-Hugos. After completing the corresponding task, stand by. Dismissed. "Yes, Master Wuming." After a flash of light, Wuming left using the staff of Anzi-Urgong's teleportation function. The Guardians quickly took action, and Nasric ushered in a big change. At this moment, Wuming and Annabelle were walking on a road to the royal capital. Chapter 42. In the carriage. Wuming was resting with his eyes closed. After Wuming came to this different world, he had been wearing the white holy cloth of the Uruk. Because he was going to the capital, Wuming changed into a set that met the standards of this different world. White underwear, a black coat, a pair of black trousers, and a pair of black boots. His neat short hair was constantly floating with the wind coming in from the window. There were no traces of erosion by time on his face. He still looked like a young man. Outside, Annabelle was driving the horse and driving the carriage at the moment. He wore a white shirt with black collar and sleeves, brown trousers, and brown boots that reach his calves. He wore a brown cloak that covered his body, and an ordinary sheathed long sword hung at his waist. Annabelle looked at Wuming, who was resting with his eyes closed in the carriage from time to time. Obviously, Annabelle already knew the new function of the staff of Anzi-Urgong. Feeling the gaze outside, Wuming had a smile bitterly in his heart. I didn't expect them to be so surprised after knowing that Nasric can travel between worlds. I was obviously lying. No, it's not a lie. After all, I can now take Nasric with me to travel between worlds. Previously, Wuming thought that he entered this different world after fusing with a light ball. After a later judgment, the light ball was the big underground tomb of Nasric. In other words, the big underground tomb of Nasric should have become part of Wuming. But because of the nobility of Wuming's bloodline, his bloodline was automatically expelled from the big underground tomb of Nasric after Wuming entered this world. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been Nasric on the grassland near Urantir. Instead, there would have been a huge dragon lying there. But because Nasric and Wuming had fused for a short time, and the staff of Anzi-Urgong could be said to be closely related to the big underground tomb of Nasric, Wuming suddenly had an idea. What would happen if the staff of Anzi-Urgong became my noble phantasm? Wuming was filled with curiosity and unknowns. That was why Wuming went into seclusion in his bedroom for 7 days, despite his plans being disrupted. These 7 days were used to upgrade the staff of Anzi-Urgong into a noble artifact. As Wuming had fused with Nazaric's underground grave for a short period of time, the time it took for Wuming to transform the staff of Anzi-Urgong into a relic was much shorter than the time it took for other relics to evolve. After the staff of Anzi-Urgong was transformed into a relic, it had two abilities. Firstly, it was because the staff of Anzi-Urgong had a large number of magic skills. After it was upgraded to a noble relic, it became a super weapon that could release tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of magic spells. Secondly, Anziurgong Guild's stronghold was located in the underground graveyard of Nasaric. The Staff of Anziurgong was the guild weapon of Anziurgong Guild. If the guild weapon was destroyed, the guild would be forcefully disbanded. The guild weapon had the highest authority in the guild. After the Staff of Anziurgong was upgraded into a noble relic, its ability became to store the underground graveyard of Nasaric into the Staff of Anziurgong. It could also form an enchantment that eroded the world and summon the underground graveyard of Nasaric to its master in the form of magic. In short, it was the reality marble of the world in the shape of the moon. The magic that could instantiate the scenery in one's mind was called reality marble. Once the reality marble was activated, it would change the surrounding space into a completely different scenery, shaping the caster's mind and eroding the real world. That was why Wuming said that the Staff of Anziurgong could allow the underground graveyard of Nasaric to travel between worlds. However, what I care about is the second ability of the noble relic, the Staff of Anziurgong. The biggest advantage of the reality marble was that everything in the enchantment was immortal. The people or things in the Nazaric's underground graveyard were killed or destroyed, and they would only turn into magic residue, drifting away with the wind, and it had no effect on the people or things themselves. Even if they were destroyed, killed, or even destroyed the entire reality marble, as long as the caster had enough magic power, he could summon them again. In that case, Wuming could use the second ability of the Staff of Anziurgong without worrying about the Guardian's safety. That's great. Wuming couldn't help but say what was on his mind. What's wrong, Wuming-sama? Annabelle, who was outside the carriage, couldn't help but ask. No, nothing. Wuming smiled helplessly. Then he remembered something and said, Didn't I tell you to call me Villo-sama? Villo there answered. The carriage stopped. Yes, Wuming-sama. Annabelle instantly ran to the carriage, knelt on one knee, and said with her head down, It's Villo. Mr. Villo. Wuming raised his voice and shouted, Yes, Mr. Villo-sama. Wuming was silent for a while. Forget it, just call me that. Let's move on. Yes, Mr. Villo-sama. Wuming felt like the glass in his heart was broken. Wuming-sama, we're here. Hearing Annabelle's words, Wuming opened his eyes. He poked his head out and looked at the slightly plain gate of the royal city. We're finally here. In fact, Wuming was a little anxious about coming to the royal city before he upgraded the Staff of Anziurgong into a noble artifact. After all, Nasaric wanted to survive in this world, and it was inevitable that he would have to deal with the natives of this world. However, after finding a way to take Nasaric out of this world, Wuming was not so anxious about Nasaric taking root in this world. After all, there is no world that Nasaric likes to move to, so it's better to take root in this world for the time being. That was Wuming's thought. Let's go, Annabelle. Find a hotel to stay first. Yes, Mr. Villo-sama. Wuming was speechless. Soon, Wuming and Annabelle stayed in a good hotel with the little money they had left. Because when they were in Khan Village, Gu Jiafu once said, If Mr. Villo wants to come to the royal city, please come to me and let me do my best. After recalling the address mentioned by Gu Jiafu, Wuming took Annabelle to Gu Jiafu's residence. It was a very ordinary house without any special features. Except for Annabelle, who was slightly dissatisfied, Wuming felt that this house was good. Wuming stepped forward and knocked on the door. After waiting for a while, no one responded. It seems that Gu Jiafu is not at home. Forget it. Let's go back to the hotel first, Annabelle. A mere bug can make the supreme wait like this. Mr. Villo-sama, please rest assured that I will personally tie it up and bring it to the hotel. With that said, she was about to raise her hand to cast magic on the house. Wuming was just about to stop Annabelle, and suddenly a voice that was quite familiar to Wuming came from a distance. Are you, Mr. Villo-sama? Chapter 43. Wuming looked at the source of the voice. A strong man in his 30s stood there in plain clothes. Long time no see, Sir Gu Jiafu. Wuming waved and smiled. Please forgive me for not being able to entertain you at my humble abode. Good Jiefu put 2 glasses of water in front of Wu Ming, who was sitting. Isn't this proof of Sir Gu Jiefu's integrity? Wu Ming didn't mind and took a glass of water to drink. Annabelle, don't stand there. Sit down and drink a glass of water. This is an order. Yes, Vilo-sama. Annabelle, who was standing behind Wu Ming, had to sit down after hearing Wu Ming's order. As for the address, after Wu Ming thought about it again and again, he still let Annabelle call him sir. After all, Mr. Razin was stranger than Razin. Thank you again, Vilo-sama. If it weren't for you, I would have died in Khan Village. Looking at Gu Jiefu, solemnly thanking him, Wu Ming waved his hand casually. You're welcome, Sir Gu Jiefu. I have to trouble you to come to the capital this time. Gu Jiefu was taken aback and then smiled bitterly. I thought Sir Vilo came to me to introduce you to the king. It seems that I'm flattered. Then he looked serious. So, Sir Vilo, what's the matter? Wu Ming stretched out his hand, and a 3-fist-sized rectangular gray-black metal appeared in his hand. This is steel? Gu Jiefu was more excited after seeing it. Yes, that was the pure steel block created by Wu Ming with advanced item creation. Not only the shape was good for forging weapons, but the density was also higher than the steel produced in this world. Such a large piece of finished steel. Is Sir Vilo here to sell this piece of steel to me? Wu Ming smiled. No, Sir Gu Jiefu. I'm here to do business with you. I have a lot of finished steel blocks of this size. Wu Ming put the steel block on the table. I wonder if Sir Gu Jiefu will be able to eat it. Gu Jiefu thought for a while. If there are really a lot of them, I can't make the decision. How about this, Your Excellency Vilo? It just so happens that Her Royal Highness is looking for me. Let me bring you to see Her Royal Highness. Oh, could it be the Golden Princess who proposed many wise policies in the kingdom? Wu Ming's eyes flashed. Yes, it's Her Royal Highness, the Golden Princess. What do you think? Of course, no problem. Although he said so, Wu Ming thought in his heart. Can a princess come up with so many outstanding examples? I feel like there's something wrong with her. Soon, Wu Ming and Annabelle were taken to a villa near the palace by Gu Jiefu. Although it was called a villa, it did not look luxurious. Instead, it gave off a simple feeling. After following the servant to the living room, Wu Ming and Gu Jiefu chatted while waiting for the arrival of the Golden Princess. Annabelle, who was standing behind Wu Ming, was somewhat unhappy. She said something like, "A mere insect dares to make Lord Wu Ming, a supreme expert, wait. This subordinate will definitely make her pay the price." Although Wu Ming deliberately suppressed it, Gu Jiefu didn't hear it. After a while, a sweet voice came. "I'm sorry to keep you waiting." Wu Ming looked at the source of the voice. What caught Wu Ming's eyes was the golden blonde hair. The visitor was wearing a white princess dress with other color decorations. She wore necklace-like ornaments on her neck and forehead, and a golden petite crown on her head. "Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Gu Jiefu. I heard that you brought someone important, so I prepared a little. It's my fault for not asking Her Royal Highness in advance." After some small talk, Gu Jiefu introduced Wu Ming to the princess. "This is the Vilo-Silence who saved my life in Khan Village." Gu Jiefu then introduced the princess to Wu Ming. "This is the 3rd princess of the kingdom, Lady Lana." The princess looked at Wu Ming. "Thank you, Mr. Vilo-Silence. Thank you very much for saving Mr. Gu Jiefu." Lana thanked Wu Ming as soon as she came up. "I'm Lana Ter Chardin Lalvanseve. I'm sorry I didn't see your name on the newspaper." Wu Ming looked at the naive Lana without any change in his expression. "It's my honor to see a commoner like me, Princess Lana," Wu Ming said half-jokingly. "You're funny, Mr. Silenceword." Lana covered her mouth and laughed. Wu Ming looked at the beautiful person in front of him and thought. Lana Ter Chardin Lalvanseve, the 3rd princess of the kingdom of Ristage. She was known for her beauty and wisdom, and was praised as the Golden Princess by the people. But she looks a little like Morgan Le Fay. So, Mr. Gu Jiefu, why did you bring Mr. Silenceword to see me? Princess Lana asked the question in her heart. "It's like this, Your Royal Highness. Good Jiefu took out the stainless steel that Wu Ming provided and explained the purpose of Wu Ming's visit to Princess Lana. So that's how it is. Princess Lana, who understood the cause and effect, had a look of sudden realization. Don't worry, Mr. Silensword. I will help you find a trustworthy merchant. Please allow me to purchase some of your stainless steel as a member of the royal family. Wu Ming didn't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with the kingdom buying it all. After all, I'm just a merchant here to sell things, Your Royal Highness. Wu Ming smiled. Just call me Lana. I believe that a person who saved the kingdom's warrior captain must be a good person. Lana smiled at Wu Ming. This sentence surprised Wu Ming. After all, in Wu Ming's eyes, he wasn't a good person. Whether it was in Connaught, Britain, Babylon, or now Nassarik, Wu Ming was always protecting his own interests. In order to let Maeve let him go, Wu Ming promised Maeve to help him finish the war. In order to protect Britain, Wu Ming had done a lot of dirty things. He had thought of buying goods and murder countless times. In Babylon, with Gilgamesh there, Wu Ming didn't have to do too much for Babylon. However, it was also because Wu Ming couldn't defeat the gods of Sumer pantheon and could only bluff. Otherwise, Wu Ming wouldn't have left with Enkidu, who faked his death. In Nassarik, the original Nassarik people were people with a negative sense of justice. Wu Ming didn't ask them to change. He only advised a few people not to be too hostile towards humans. Of course, that was only towards people who were kind. As for people who were full of evil intentions and scum, even if they were killed by the people of Nassarik, Wu Ming wouldn't bat an eye. Wu Ming was such a person who was full of egoism and did as he pleased. Hearing Lana praise Wu Ming as a good person, Wu Ming was a bit absent-minded. Since it's daily, Princess Lana should also call me a Villo. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair. Wu Ming said, Yes, Mr. Villo. Well, since they don't have any evil intentions, I don't need to care whether they miss Morgan Le Fay or not. It doesn't affect me anyway. Just like that, Wu Ming's merchant plan was successfully carried out. Just as Wu Ming and Lana were happily talking, a young man came into the room. Chapter 44. I'm very sorry, Your Highness Lana. I'm late. A young man opened the door and walked in. The young man had short blonde hair, a youthful face, and a resolute face. He was wearing white armor. Although he looked young, he gave off a very reliable feeling. Lana smiled and shook her head. It's okay, Clem. I'm here to discuss something with Mr. Jedjeff. Not to mention, Mr. Jedjeff also brought Mr. Villo Silensword, who saved Mr. Jedjeff's life in Khan Village. Hearing that it was the person who saved Jedjeff's life, the young man named Clem's eyes lit up. He turned his head and looked at the only male in the room other than Jedjeff. That direct gaze made Annabelle a little unhappy. Just as Annabelle was about to say something, Wu Ming reached out his hand to stop her. After all, if the situation was not right, Annabelle would speak very arrogantly. He had to stop her. Is your name Clem? Do you have something to ask me? Yes, Mr. Silensword. I want to ask you how to become stronger. Clem, you're being rude. Princess Lana shouted. Jedjeff seemed to know something. He didn't say anything and just watched quietly. At this moment, no one said anything. Suddenly, a female voice was heard. You still haven't given up, boy. Everyone looked at the closed door. The voice came from outside the door. Is it Gragland? Princess Lana asked. The door was pushed open. The first to come in was a tall and sturdy blonde woman wearing red armor. It was as if a woman's head was pressed against a strong man's body. It was quite out of place. You should also stop talking, Gragland. Then came a pair of twin sisters. They were almost identical. Oh, Hina T, are you too interested in this virgin? Ha ha. Her hair was tied up with a golden broom. She wore a scarf around her neck like a mask. Her upper body was wearing armor that only covered her chest. Her lower body was in shorts. Overall, it looked like a rather revealing female ninja outfit. Their clothes were embroidered with red and blue threads and patterns respectively. The red one was Tina, and the blue one was Tia. What nonsense are you talking about? Looks like it's not suitable for you to go out today, Glenn. Following that, a petite, masked woman with a spirited expression walked in. He wore a red hooded cloak over his black clothes and a mask with a red gem embedded on his forehead. Strands of golden hair peeked out from the hood and mask. All right, Gigrin, Rue, this is Her Highness Guest Hall. Stop messing around. The person who spoke seemed to be the captain. She was a beautiful woman with long blonde hair. She wore red tights and a blue skirt. She wore white cloth armor on her chest, a pair of white gauntlets on her forearms, and white protective boots on her calves. Oh, Hajisai, you're here. Princess Lana, on the other hand, was quite happy to see this woman who seemed to be the team leader. She stood up and ran over to hold Haggis' hand. Ah, Lana, I'm sorry to disturb you while you're talking to the warrior chief. Let me introduce you. This is the leader of Wild Rose, my friend, Haggis Elba Druine Dora. Hello, Haggis said with a smile. This is Mr. Villo Silensword, the one who saved Mr. Jedjeff's life in Khan Village. Next to him is Mr. Villo's guard, Miss Annabelle. Just call me Villo. I'm not a pedantic person. Wooming stood up and greeted Wild Rose's people. Ha, you're so cool. Are you interested in having a go with me, handsome? Gigrin's rough voice came. You aphid, don't you know what you look like? You'd better go back to the furnace and be reborn first before you consider whether to serve Sir Villo. Annabelle said mercilessly. Oh, you look so arrogant. Let's go out and practice. Gigrin, Annabelle, Wooming and Haggis stopped the fight at the same time. Well, let's solve Clem's problem first. At this time, Gigrin returned to the topic. Kid, you want to ask the strong to tell you how to become strong again, right? Clem was silent. Gigrin's rough voice continued. I've said it before, the so-called saying that you can become strong through hard work is no longer suitable for you. Although some heroes also became strong through hard work, you've worked hard enough. I believe that no one in the kingdom can be said to be more hard-working than you. Give up, kid. You can't become strong anymore. Gigrin's words made Clem's face pale, but from his determined eyes, it was clear that Clem had no intention of giving up. That's true, Wooming said slowly, but there are many ways to become strong. Wooming looked at Clem. Let me ask you, why do you want to become strong? Clem looked at Princess Lana and then looked at Wooming. I want to become strong, to be able to protect Princess Lana. After that, there was another moment of silence. A moment later, protect? Wooming smiled. Come out with me. After that, Wooming walked out of the room. Annabelle glanced at Clem and followed Wooming. Clem and Lana's faces were filled with joy. Could that handsome guy really make Clem stronger? Let's go out and see. Rue, who was wearing a mask, said. Rose Tsong and the others followed. In the courtyard, Wooming and Clem stood opposite each other. Don't you need a weapon? Clem asked. Wooming smiled and shook his head. Come at me with all you've got, Clem. Otherwise, you won't have the chance later. Although his words were arrogant, Wooming was not wrong. Then I'll go, Mr. Sirenhold. After that, Clem rushed forward with his sword. Clem swung his sword down, but Wooming's body swayed and dodged the attack. Seeing how easily Wooming dodged his attack, Clem swung his sword harder and faster, while Wooming continued to dodge. Clem had already swung his sword a dozen times, but none of them hit Wooming, and Wooming did not even take half a step back. Clem, have you heard of saying? Wooming kept dodging Clem's attacks and said, when a person is in danger, they will explode with unprecedented power. Yes, I know, Clem replied. After hearing this, Wooming squinted his eyes. Are you ready? Without waiting for Clem's reply, Wooming released his terrifying aura. The magic power emitted from Wooming's body wreaked havoc on the ground around him, causing dirt to fly everywhere. Everyone present, except Clem, felt like they were facing a dragon, and their eyes were full of fear. Clem, who was targeted by Wooming's aura, was unable to move, and fear continued to erode Clem's heart. Let me see your determination to protect. Chapter 45. No, if this goes on, I'll die. Clem thought in his heart. I'm going, Wooming said calmly as he raised his seemingly normal arm. He clenched his fist and punched towards Clem at a very slow speed. Although the speed seemed slow to Clem, Clem could feel it. If I get hit, I'll definitely die. Everyone looked at Wuming and Clem nervously. Although the situation was dangerous, they still believed that Wuming wouldn't kill Clem. Her Highness Lana. Feeling his heartbeat, Clem thought about the face of the person he swore to serve for the rest of his life. Suddenly, Clem felt the chain in his body break. Padash! The shackles that restricted his abilities were broken. Wuming's fist wind formed a tornado, sweeping up the dirt on the ground. In an instant, dust filled the air. Lana, Rose Tsang, and the others stared at the dust in the courtyard without blinking, wondering what the outcome would be. Slowly, the smoke and dust dispersed, revealing the figures of two people. Clem. Princess Lana couldn't help but call out. Clem's posture didn't change as he stood on the spot. The sword in his hand was swung forward, held tightly by Wuming's other hand. Wuming's arm that swung out stopped beside Clem's head. Wuming slowly retracted his arm and smiled at Clem. Congratulations, you've broken through your limits. This sentence was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. After Clem heard it, his body couldn't support itself and fell to the ground. Breathing heavily and feeling the pain on his body, Clem looked at the sky. He had never felt the sky was so blue before. Even under my aura, you can still dodge and swing your sword. Seems like your awareness is quite strong, Clem. Wuming then took out a healing potion from Dragonist and passed it to Princess Lana. This is a healing potion, Princess Lana. Give it to Clem. Everyone looked at the red healing potion with doubt in their hearts. After all, in this world, healing potions were all blue in color. Red potion. But under the mask of Ibiruai's face, there was a slight change. What is it, Ibiruai? Gedgeland asked Ibiruai. No, I'm fine. After Lana fed the healing potion to Clem, everyone returned to the meeting room. Clem asked impatiently as soon as he sat down, fully recovered. Lord Villo, just now the Villo understood Clem's doubts and asked. A person's brain will limit most of their skills to prevent damage to their body. Just now, you broke through part of the limit under my pressure, which is why your body is in so much pain. After taking a sip of the tea, Wuming put it down. Now, you should be able to control the release of this restriction. You should be able to sense it yourself. Yes, thank you very much for your guidance, Sir Villo. This humble one is eternally grateful. Well, Virgin, you have indeed become stronger, although it was only for a moment. You should have reached the level of a platinum-level adventurer. Gedgeland said from the side. In this world, there was a profession called an adventurer. Wuming knew from the interrogation of the people from the Sunshine Holy Bible that adventurers were people who dealt with monsters. These people were similar to multi-purpose mercenaries and were managed by the Adventurers Guild. The Adventurers level was differentiated by the rarity of the metal. The metal that symbolized their identity from lowest to highest were copper, iron, silver, gold, platinum, mithril, orichalcum, and stainless steel. Hearing this, Wuming reached out his hand, and a thin white knight's sword appeared in Wuming's hand. Then, how about adding this? Wuming tossed the knight's sword to Clem. This is stainless steel? Clem was confused. It's a pure stainless steel knight's sword. When everyone heard this, they were all shocked. Although a small amount of stainless steel could increase the weapon's quality, no one would use pure stainless steel to forge a weapon. Moreover, with such a large piece of stainless steel, it was hard to say if they could find a blacksmith who could forge a pure stainless steel weapon. After all, stainless steel was the hardest metal in this world. How can I, Mr. Villo, I can't accept such a valuable weapon. Clem's expression was determined not to accept it, and Rose Tsang's expression was the same. After all, no one would be so nice for no reason. Okay, just accept it. After all, I still have something to ask of Her Royal Highness. Of course, Mr. Villo. Everyone was confused. After all, accepting a request without hearing it was strange no matter how they looked at it. But after thinking about it for a while, Hagrid felt relieved. Wuming also looked at Princess Lana in confusion, then seemed to have thought of something. It seems that Her Royal Highness Lana values Sir Clem a lot. Princess Lana just smiled sweetly. Of course, after all, I like Clem the most. Clem's young face blushed when he heard that. Then, Her Royal Highness Lana is not afraid that I will make a request that will harm the kingdom. You must be joking, as I said before. I believe that Mr. Villo, who saved His Excellency the Warrior, is a good person. Wu Ming waved his hand. Forget about being a good person. I just thought that good Jiafu was a good person, so I helped him. That's enough. Lana smiled. My request is simple. If you have any business in the future, please consider me first. No one in the conference room spoke. A moment later. Is that all, Mr. Villo? Princess Lana asked. That's all. How about it? Can you accept it? Okay, no problem. But, with such a small request, you let me accept such a valuable treasure, Clem was still a little unbalanced. It's okay, Clem, just accept it. This is a reward for your determination to protect. Wu Ming smiled. Yes, Mr. Villo, I will live up to your expectations, and I will use it well. Clem accepted it quite solemnly. Looking at Rose Tsang and the others present, Wu Ming looked at Princess Lana. Then that's it for today. I'll take my leave first. Wu Ming stood up. It's really a blessing to talk with you. Mr. Villo's thinking is really advanced. It couldn't be helped. Previously, Wu Ming was discussing business matters with Princess Lana. As they talked, the topic deviated from the main topic. They even talked about the country, policies, and such. Wu Ming even expressed his own opinion, which made Princess Lana very surprised. After all, Wu Ming was a modern person, and his ideology and culture were definitely more advanced. Of course, Her Royal Highness Lana's opinion surprised me, as expected of the Golden Princess. After a while, Wu Ming and Annabelle began to leave. When they walked to the gate of the courtyard, one of Rose Song, who came to see them off, suddenly shouted, Mr. Wu Ming. Wu Ming paused after hearing it, but he recovered in an instant and continued to walk forward. Wait a minute, Mr. Villo. Chapter 46. Wu Ming turned his head and looked at the person who spoke. What can I do for you, Miss Ibiruai? Ibiruai did not speak. Gedlin said quietly to Ibiruai, Hey, what's the matter, Ibiruai? Why did you suddenly stop him? Also, who is this Wu Ming that you called out earlier? After a pause, Ibiruai looked at her and said, Your Royal Highness, I would like to invite Sir Villo and Sir Gajef to join the plan. Hey, Ibiruai, Gajef is fine, but why do you want to invite the person you just met for the first time? Yes, Ibiruai, I don't agree with this idea. Wu Ming looked at her quietly and did not speak. It seems that Miss Vampire seems to know me. No, she knows Wu Ming. It shouldn't be. I just came to this world not long ago. How could she know me? I don't have a problem with Sir Villo, but Sir Villo has just met us, and I have received Sir Villo's favor. I really shouldn't bother Sir Villo. Princess Lana looked embarrassed. I don't have a problem with that, but let's talk about it tomorrow. Don't you have something to discuss? I will visit again tomorrow. Goodbye. Wu Ming and Annabelle left. Song Rose's leader, Hagis, asked Ibiruai, Ibiruai, what's going on? Why do you care so much about that man? It's okay. Let's discuss Hachiko with Her Royal Highness first. After saying that, she went into the room, leaving a few people who didn't know what to do. On the other side, Annabelle walked behind Wu Ming and asked, Do we need to get rid of that woman? No. I really want to know where she knew my name. Wu Ming touched his chin and thought. Strictly speaking, that bottle of red healing potion and the pressure I released to train Clem have the possibility of being exposed. But even if I'm exposed as Wu Ming, how did she know this name? That Wu Ming just now carries a lot of weight. Well, let's go back to the hotel first. I want to contact Yair Bird. Yes, Sir Wu Ming. After discussing with Princess Lana, Song Rose's group left the princess's house. On the way back, Gedlin began to ask, What's going on, Irby Rue? You're making us very worried. Hagis, Hina, and Tia also looked at Ibiruai. My apologies, I was just thinking of a benefactor of mine. Lord Varen, you look too much like him. Ibiruai replied. Feeling Ibiruai's loneliness, Song Rose's group sighed silently in their hearts. In the hotel, Wu Ming took out the scroll called Message and was ready to contact Bird. Message was a long-range communication spell, which could also be said to be a skill. There was such a spell in the library, but Wuming didn't learn it. Message. Wuming put his hand on his temple and began to contact Bird. Wuming-sama. Bird, I have an accident here. Immediately recall Sebastian and Zaisha and prohibit the members of Nasaric from going out. I'm very sorry, Wuming-sama. Zaisha betrayed us. What? Nazaric's underground tomb. A black and red circular hole appeared at the main entrance of Nazaric's surface. Wuming walked out of it. Annabelle was left in the Royal City Hotel by Wuming. Annabelle helped Wuming to refuse everything. The reason was that Wuming had some personal matters to deal with. Wuming stretched out his hand, and a ring appeared in his hand. After putting it on, Wuming launched instant transmission and disappeared. Between the thrones, Bird was standing next to the throne, waiting quietly. Wuming instantly appeared between the thrones. Seeing Wuming, Bird knelt on one knee. Wuming-sama. Get up quickly, Bird. What's going on with Zaisha's betrayal? Bird stood up, waved his hands and white silk gloves a few times in the air, and a crystal screen appeared in the air. Although Nasaric has been materialized, some mechanisms can still be digitized. For example, Bird pulled up the list of Nazaric's guardians. Seeing Zaisha Bradford's name in bright red, Wuming asked, "Is this the reason for Zaisha's betrayal?" "That's not the reason. When you left Nasaric, I told Zaisha and Sebastian to complete the information gathering as soon as possible. Zaisha has already returned ahead of time. However, when passing by Khan Village, Zaisha seemed to have encountered an enemy. After that, I couldn't contact her. That's why I checked the list of guardians and learned of Zaisha's betrayal." Wuming sat on the throne, looked at Zaisha's bright red name, which was different from the other guardians' white names, and fell into deep thought. If I'm not mistaken, the enemy should be from the Cillian theocracy. I deduced the same thing when I discussed with demigods, but because of Lord Wuming's orders, I didn't send troops to Khan Village to check. Send the highest level assassin to the vicinity of Khan Village to check the situation. Understood. Bedard left. A moment later, Bedard returned to the throne. Lord Wuming, Zaisha is fully armed and stopped on the plains near Khan Village. We sent our subordinates to question her, but Zaisha didn't answer as if she was unconscious. Our initial judgment is that Zaisha is under mind control. To be able to affect the undead who are immune to mind control, the other party has at least a world-class item, Wuming analyzed after pondering for a moment. Wuming frowned. Although Wuming was much stronger than these level 100 NPCs, if he could control Zaisha's mind, Wuming did not dare to say that it was ineffective against him. The 8-limb blade assassin bugs didn't find an ambush in the vicinity, but we can't be sure that the other party isn't monitoring Zaisha. Bedard. What's the solution to being under mind control with a world-class item? Bedard thought for a moment before replying. I'm afraid the only solution is to kill Zaisha and revive her. However, I can't guarantee that she will recover after being revived. Wuming fell into deep thought. As expected, mental labor isn't suitable for me. Bedard. Yes. Gather the guardians. I have something to say. Understood. Soon, a group of guardians gathered in the throne hall, including Sebastian, who had already returned. Dear guardians, I'm sure all of you know that Zaisha is under mind control. Wuming said calmly. I want to ask, do you have a way to remove the mind control on Zaisha without killing her? Chapter 47. Looking at the silent guardians, Wuming thought to himself, it seems that I can only kill Zaisha. I'm very sorry, Wuming-sama. We can't solve the problem for you. It's a crime worthy of death. Demiugos said in a serious tone. Don't say that, Demiugos. I'm too harsh. After all, that's the effect of a world-class item, and it's not so easy to remove. Wuming shook his head. First, I want to give you the world-class item. Wuming's words were shocking, and the guardians immediately knelt down and bowed their heads. Dimyu goes, "You know the reason, right?" Dimyu goes, still knelt on one knee and bowed his head. "Yes, Wuming-sama. Wuming-sama gave us the world-class item to prevent us from being affected by the enemy's world-class item." Wuming nodded. Dimyu goes, is still smart. With that, Wuming waved his hand. A sword, a cup, a large scroll, and a pair of gloves appeared in the air and fell to the hands of Cositas, Yuri, Mare, and Dimyu goes. "Because Yair Bade already has the world-class item Infernal Abyss, I won't give you the world-class item this time." "Yes, Wuming-sama," Yair Bade said with a regretful look. The names of these 4 items are Blade of Billions, Cup of Zaisha, Mountain River Map, and Avarice and Desireless. I will tell you how to use them and their effects after the meeting. Thank you, Wuming-sama, for giving us these treasures. We will not hesitate to go through fire and water for you. Several people said at the same time. One more thing, I'm going to fight Zaisha alone. How can that be, Wuming-sama? Please think twice, Wuming-sama. Wuming-sama, silence. Wuming shouted. We can't be sure if the other party will suddenly use a teleportation spell to teleport over. Moreover, we can't guarantee our chances of victory if you guys go. Most importantly, you're like newborn children. I am someone who has accepted your loyalty. How can I let you kill each other? Lord Wuming, since you've already made your decision, as your subordinates, we shouldn't say anything more. However, please promise us that you'll return safely, Yair Bade said. I agree. In Wuming's bedroom, Wuming placed many props in front of him. It feels like I'm raiding a dungeon. Seriously, how can someone like me, who has experienced many battles, be used to preparing for a one-on-one battle like a game? As mentioned before, after Nasrik transformed into a physical body, he retained some of his digitized parts. For example, Nazarik's members could use magic to detect a target's HP and MP, and Yair Abed could also manage Nasrik through the system. Sure enough, it's more suitable for me to fight directly. Can I determine if there are any players on the other side? At the end of the meeting, Dimyu Goes proposed that after a series of anti-teleportation spells, anti-detection spells, and other spells were placed near Satya, Wuming would fight Satya one-on-one. In Wuming's view, whether it was NPCs or players in Yggdrasil, their abilities were not strong. At least in Wuming's view, no one in Nasrik could defeat him without using special skills or items. The only hidden danger now was that he didn't know if the other party had any special items or skills. I can only say that it's a game. After all, without these special items or skills, the game would become boring. I guess so. After all, I don't play games very much. Wuming picked up the 2 rings in front of him and put them on his left and right fingers. The names of these 2 rings were Meteor Ring and Eternal Calamity Serpent Ring. Eternal Calamity Serpent Ring was one of the 20 world-class items. Because he wanted to guard against the opponent's world-class item effect, and because it was convenient to carry, Wuming chose this world-class item. In Yggdrasil World Tree, the effect was to make a wish to the game company, and the effect could be extended to the whole game. Of course, whether the content of the wish could be approved was another matter. After transforming into a physical body, the effect of the ring became Make a Wish, a Real Wish. However, because of the special effect of disappearing and randomly appearing in a corner of the world after using it, Wuming didn't dare to use it casually. At most, he would only use it when he was in danger. Meteor Ring, on the other hand, could cast the super magic Wish to the Stars unconditionally. The effect had 3 weakened versions of the wish skill, and there were many restrictions. After 3 wishes were made, there would be a long cooldown period. It could be said that it was an item that could determine the winner. After all, Wuming didn't have many ultimate skills. Other than Yggdrasil, and X-Silver, Meteor Silver, Noble Phantasm, Wuming had no other skills that could be considered as his ultimate skill. Enkidu has been sleeping since he first came to this world. Most of the magic Wuming learned couldn't be used as ultimate skills. After all, The magic stored in the library was either magic books with a limited number of times or written materials that couldn't be learned. The skills Wu Ming learned, such as Dragon Thunder and Heavenly Fire, were useful against the natives, but they didn't have much effect on Zaisha, a level 100 NPC. Oh, my head hurts. Sure enough, I still haven't learned it well, Master. Wu Ming remembered his master, Ska, who could kill a god with just a magic spear and his own martial arts. Sure enough, I'm still too inexperienced. My bloodline ability is basically harmless. For example, Wu Ming's Origin Dragon bloodline ability, time travel adaptability, powerful physique, endless magic power, and transformation effect of Calamity Dragon. Suddenly, Wu Ming felt a message in his mind. Wu Ming put his hand on his temple. What's wrong, Ye obeyed. Master Wu Ming, some humans who look like adventurers are approaching Zaisha. Understood. Stay put. I'll go check the situation. Master Wu Ming, don't you need guards? No. To avoid misunderstandings, you can continue to hide near Zaisha. Yes, Master. Wu Ming disconnected the communication and lay on the bed. When it rains, it pours. I hope those adventurers can retreat on their own. As the portal closed, Wu Ming appeared on the plain near Khan village. So, those are the adventurers who are approaching. Wu Ming looked at the adventurers coming toward him. Wu Ming took out Yggdrasil and threw it into the air. After a while, Funbaba appeared behind Wu Ming. Those adventurers also seemed to have seen Wu Ming and Funbaba, and they all stopped for a while. 3 people who seemed to be captains came over. Are you the captains of the adventurers who came to crusade against the vampire? Yes, I'm Parodi from Sirius. These 2 are Moknak from Rainbow and Igvaki from Cradle. May I ask who you are? A young man with a determined look said. I'm the vampire's summoner. Because of an accident, I lost control. Please go back. This is not something you can intervene in. But even if you say so, Parodi had a troubled expression on his face. Don't waste your breath on him. Igvaki said. Who knows? Maybe he's actually here to steal our credit. He thinks that he can do whatever he wants just because he has a good-looking magical beast. To be honest, Funbaba was not tall, and it looked gentle, but it did not mean that Funbaba would not kill. Funbaba raised its leg, and in an instant, a huge man-eating flower appeared at Igvaki's feet. In an instant, Igvaki was eaten by the man-eating flower before he could even make a sound. Parodi and Moknak put their hands on their weapons with a solemn expression. I'm in a bad mood. Persuading you to leave is for your own good. Do you have to make an example of me? Wu Ming released the aura of a giant dragon. The wind pressure caused by his aura overturned the adventurers in the distance, and Parodi and Moknak in front of him were unconscious. Wu Ming slowly retracted his aura. Ever since Silent Wonder turned into a dragon, he had mastered an invisible pressure similar to draconic aura. This could be considered a blessing in disguise. Looking at the hurried and orderly retreat, Wu Ming turned around and walked towards Satya. Chapter 48. Looking at Satya, who was wearing red armor and holding a strange spear, Wu Ming couldn't help but think of Satya's information. Fortunately, I checked Satya's information, equipment, and skills before. I have to deal with Satya quickly. Satya's armor was legendary level armor, and her weapon was a divine artifact level special weapon, Dropper Spear. Dropper Spear could heal itself by inflicting damage to the opponent in a certain proportion, which could be said to be a miracle in a protracted battle. According to the information, Satya also had a resurrection item. In that case, I have to kill Satya twice. Sigh, I really don't want to experience killing my subordinates again. When Wu Ming was a knight, he once had a subordinate who was infected by a monster. At his subordinate's request, Wu Ming had to kill him. Wu Ming, Sama, hearing that voice, Wu Ming looked at his arm. Enkidu, are you awake? Well, because Wu Ming, Sama is upset, I woke up to see if there is any way to help you. I appreciate your kindness, but I don't think you can do anything about it. Wu Ming couldn't find any other way to remove Satya's mind control other than killing her. Wu Ming, Sama, maybe I can give it a try. Oh, really, little Enkidu? Wu-Ming was so excited that he called out Wu-Ming's pet name for Enkidu. Yes, yes, Wu-Ming, Sama. I was originally a chain connecting heaven and earth. Of course, I have a way to break the chain. If possible, Wu-Ming, Sama can connect me to Satya, and I should be able to remove the negative effect. But little Enkidu, why didn't I know you have this ability? Wu-Ming asked strangely. After all, Wu-Ming was also a Uruk native, and he knew about the Heaven Lock. It's strange. After I came to this world with Wu-Ming, Sama, I began to change, which is why I fell into a deep sleep. I'm sorry, little Enkidu. There is no way to lift the curse on your body. When Enkidu was cursed by the gods, Wu-Ming only took away Enkidu's soul, and his body was indeed dead. Therefore, Enkidu couldn't show his body, and could only accompany Wu-Ming in the form of Heaven Lock. It's all right, Lord Wu-Ming. Enki is very happy to be able to be tied to Lord Wu-Ming like this. Wu-Ming touched Enkidu hidden on his arm and didn't say anything. Little Enkidu, my first battle in this world. Let's go. Yes. Wu-Ming Sama. High-level item creation. A white light flashed, and a white armor appeared on Wu-Ming's body. That was the silver dragon armor that Wu-Ming used in Britain. Funbaba. Woo. Funbaba changed, and a silver-white spear flew in the air. As if it was calculated, Wu-Ming stretched out his hand and firmly grabbed the spear. Yggdrasil. The silver-white spear slowly melted like liquid, attached to Wu-Ming's left hand, forming a silver-white left-hand armor. Then Wu-Ming stretched out his hand, and a white hole appeared on the right side of his body, and the hilt of a sword slowly came out of it. Wu-Ming held the hilt with his right hand and pulled it out. The silver-white holy sword appeared in Wu-Ming's right hand. Heavenly fire. The white flame attached to the silver holy sword. Then I'll start first. Satya. Wu-Ming held the sword with both hands and raised it above his head. Although it was daytime, there was a trace of starlight in the sky, and the starlight began to gather on the sword. Yes, silver, meteor, silver. The white holy sword gathered the light, and the moment the real name was shouted, the light overflowed. A huge silver-white beam of light rose into the sky, and the silver-white beam of light continued to expand, covering a few kilometers in an instant. 1/3 of the nearby forest was destroyed, and Khan village was almost affected. Gradually, the light disappeared, revealing the ground that was more than 10 meters deep, as if it was baptized by a nuclear bomb. The guardians in the conference hall who watched with a long-in perspective mirror were surprised. It's comparable to the destructive power of supreme magic, as expected of Wu-Ming Sama. Demiurgos pushed his glasses and said with a trembling voice, "That seems to be the attack launched by Wu-Ming Sama's weapon. Is it a world-class item owned by Wu-Ming Sama?" Cositas opened his mouth. Cositas, who had dozens of weapons, could clearly see that this wasn't Wu-Ming's skill, but a weapon. Such a powerful blow, as expected of my lover. Wu-Ming Bade did not show her infatuation side, but with a rather calm expression. Satya, Sama shouldn't be able to withstand Wu-Ming Sama's attack. It should be Wu-Ming Sama's victory. Although Sebastian was a level 100 NPC, he still called the Guardian Sama. Yuz and Mare, who were on the edge of a nearby cliff, were covered in dust. Phew, that was close. We were almost finished. Wu-Ming Sama is really powerful, isn't he, sister? That's right. If Yuz and Mare had not activated their special skills in time, they might have ended up like Satya. Wu-Ming looked at X Silver, Meteor Silver, and scratched his head awkwardly. I accidentally used too much magic power. What should I say, Lord Wu-Ming? Enkidu, who was on Wu-Ming's left arm side. I can't help it. Ever since I turned back into a dragon, I haven't used my noble artifact. Who knew that its power would increase so much? This was also the bloodline advantage of the root dragon, the qualitative increase in magic power. The same magic power, but the current one was much purer than before. She should be fine. Satya. Just as Wu-Ming was discussing Satya, a burst of laughter was heard. Ha 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 ha. Isn't this Lord Wu-Ming? As expected of the supreme Wu-Ming, Lord Wooming, who killed me instantly. Fortunately, I still have a resurrection item. Lord Wooming, ha 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 ha. Sure enough, I've already killed Satya once. What a big mistake. Since I turned into a dragon, the quality of my magic power has greatly improved. Coupled with the bonus of the Tier 9 spell, Heavenly Fire, the power of Exilver's noble artifact, is really amazing. Wooming shook his head and looked at Satya with his eyes hidden under the helmet. I'm sorry, Satya, I accidentally killed you. No, 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 Lord Wooming, you don't need to apologize because you just need to let me kill you. Ha ha. Looking at Satya, who was laughing wildly, Wooming couldn't help but think, is he really mentally ill? If that's the case, Shaoan. Yes. The silver chain appeared on Wooming's left gauntlet, and the chain seemed to be endless, shooting towards Satya. Such a simple attack, Lord Wooming. Why did you use it? Satya instantly used the flying ability of her armor to avoid the entanglement of Enkidu. Is that so? Satya, what about this? The sound of chains colliding could be heard as white holes similar to spatial doors appeared in the air around Satya, surrounding her. Greater teleport. Don't even think about it. Wooming was already prepared. Wooming instantly tore the scroll from Dragonist. What? Greater teleport doesn't work? Is it dimensional lock? Yes, it's dimensional lock that can restrain teleport. Enkidu. In an instant, Enkidu extended from each white space and bound Satya. Damn it! Einherjar. As Satya chanted the spell, a white light flew out of Satya's body. After the white light took shape, it was a figure exactly the same as Satya, but this figure was completely white. Einherjar, summoned by this skill, only had the physical ability of the original body, and it could not use magic or skills. Einherjar rushed toward Wooming, but Satya knew very well that Einherjar was no match for Wooming. Struggling to break free from Enkidu, Satya activated Magic Essence and began to check Wooming's magical power. What she saw was a huge amount of magical power gushing out like a bottomless pit, as expected of the supreme being of the great underground tomb of Nasrik. You can be said to be an invincible existence, Lord Wooming. On the other side, Wooming activated another noble phantasm. Noble phantasm liberation, Yggdrasil. A large number of branches quickly grew from Wooming's left hand, entangling Satya's Einherjar. Absorb, Yggdrasil. The Einherjar gradually faded until it completely disappeared. So what should you do now, Satya? Chapter 49. Ah, Wooming Sama. What kind of artifact is this chain of yours? I even used Impure Impact Shield, but I still couldn't break your shackles. Although she said that, Zacia's expression was very anxious. Enkidu, let's start. Try to get in touch with Satya's mind control. Yes, Master Wooming. The silver-white chain wrapped around Satya began to glow, and Satya struggled and screamed in pain. Ah! Listening to Satya's screams, Wooming couldn't help but clench his fists. Although Wooming hadn't been in charge of Nasrik for long, not even a month, Wooming was very fond of his subordinates, who were like newborn babies. Since he gained benefits, he had to bear the responsibility. That was what Wooming thought when he became the ruler of Nasrik. Now, Wooming has regarded the people of Nasrik as his family, friends, and children. Wooming called it a trip, and to put it bluntly, he was homeless. Although it was a short time, compared to living in the strange outside world, Nasrik, which was full of monsters, gave Wooming a sense of belonging. After all, Wooming was not human. After a while, Satya fainted, and the chain stopped glowing. How is it, little Enkidu? Should be... Okay. Wooming heard Enkidu's voice and felt something was wrong, so he quickly asked, What's wrong, little Enkidu? Are you okay? I'm fine, Master Wooming. I'm still not used to the changes in Enkidu. Plus, I forced myself to wake up before. I might fall asleep again. Sorry, Master Wooming. It's okay, little Enkidu. You don't have to apologize. I'm really lucky to have you by my side. Enkidu didn't say anything else. Sensing the weakening of Enkidu's mana, Wuming knew that Enkidu had fallen asleep again. Wuming jumped up and hugged the unconscious Satya. He stroked Satya's face and said, "Go to sleep. Everything will be fine." As if she had heard him, Satya's slightly nervous face gradually relaxed. Nasric conference room. As expected, Sir Wuming's victory is beyond doubt. Cositas exhaled a breath of cold air as he spoke. It seems that I don't need to prepare materials for Satya's revival. As expected of Lord Wuming. Dimagos adjusted his glasses. Regardless of whether Wuming had come into contact with Satya's mind control, he had already captured Satya alive, so there was no need to prepare for her resurrection. Then, let's welcome the master that we will serve forever. Guardians, said Yair Bade. Pardon my rudeness, but I won't be going. I have to prepare food for the returning Lord Wuming. I remember that Lord Wuming strongly requested not to eat potatoes last time. I have to inform a chef. With that, Sebastian bowed and left. Wuming landed on the ground with the unconscious Satya in his arms. He looked at Yal and Malay who were walking toward him. I'm sorry, Yal Malay. I didn't hurt you just now, did I? It's okay, it's okay. I didn't expect Lord Wuming, who had been keeping a low profile in Nasric, to be so powerful. And powerful. And gentle. Wuming smiled and shook his head. I'm still far from that. You must know that no matter what, there's no end to it. To be honest, Wuming didn't expect a noble artifact to be so powerful. After all, Wuming didn't use a noble artifact many times. The few times that he did, it was because his opponent also used a noble artifact, or because his opponent was unmatched without a noble artifact. Thinking about it carefully, it wasn't strange. Noble artifacts were known as the trump cards of heroic spirits. Putting aside the strength of heroic spirits, just the word trump card showed the importance of a noble artifact. By the way, y'all, Wuming looked at Yal and asked, the anti-detection magic is working, right? Yes, Lord Wuming. Although Lord Wuming's attack destroyed most of the magic, I repaired it in time, so there's no problem. Then, as if he thought of something, Wuming said to Malay, don't make any changes to the traces of the battle here. It can serve as a deterrent. Yes, Lord Wuming. Then let's go. Yes, Lord Wuming. X2, between the thrones in the audience hall. Yair Bade, Dimugos Cositas, Sebastian, and the others have been waiting for a long time. Wuming carried Satya, while the Dark Elf twins followed behind him. Lord Wuming, congratulations on your victorious return. Looking at the guardians, including the twins, who were kneeling on one knee, Wuming said, Rise, guardians. Yes, Lord Wuming. Yair Bade, check Satya's status. Yes, Lord. Yair Bade slid his finger in the air and opened a virtual window. Yair Bade slid his finger. When he saw Satya's name turn from red to white, he heaved a sigh of relief. There's no problem, Lord Wuming. Satya's name has turned white. How about this? Bring Satya to the room on the 9th floor to rest. During this time, arrange for many monsters above level 90 to guard her and set up many magic traps to prevent Satya from going berserk. This, Lord Wuming, to let the servants step into the residence of the supreme beings. Yair Bade had an inappropriate expression. It's fine. The other supreme beings won't blame you. Carry out the order. Yes, Lord. Speaking of which, it was strange. Ever since Wuming came to Nasric, the 9th floor of Nazaric's underground graveyard had been deserted. No, it should be said that this was more befitting of the graveyard's name. In fact, there were quite a lot of people on the 9th floor. There were 41 level 1 android maids, as well as a group of service staff in bars, restaurants, and hot springs. However, these people only moved around in their own areas and never came out. Thus, only the guardians were left to move around freely. In fact, it was also because each floor of Nasric was too big. Perhaps it was because Wuming and Nasric had temporarily fused. Nasric was not as big as the information indicated. Instead, it was much bigger than the information indicated. Other than the surface of Nasric, which did not change much, the 1st to 10th floors of Nasrik had expanded a lot. According to Wu Ming's speculation, the largest floor was even comparable to the size of a city. I'm a little tired. Let's go back and rest. Sebastian, is the food ready? Of course, Lord Wu Ming. It's all ready. I also specially told the chef to reject all potato products. Speaking of potatoes, Wu Ming recalled the fear of being dominated by Gawain in Britain. Well done, Sebastian. For the supreme beings, I won't hesitate. Following the conversation, Wu Ming and Sebastian stepped into the restaurant. Chapter 50. Wu Ming looked at the ceiling as he lay on the bed and covered himself with a blanket. Seriously, it's tough being the ruler of Nasrik. Is that why I can't be a king? Because of Satya's incident, Wu Ming fell into deep thought. Well, I finally know the difficulties of Maeve, Lia, and Gil. Wu Ming raised his right hand and looked at the ring of Ain's Wurgong on his finger. Ain's Wurgong. I'm now the king of the devil creatures. To think that I, the holy root dragon, have become the king of the devil creatures. Not bad, Wu Ming put down his hand and closed his eyes. Sleep, sleep. I must fully enjoy this beautiful moment. Just like that, Wu Ming fell asleep under the protection of the devil creatures. The next day, in the audience hall between the thrones, looking at the empty hall, Wu Ming spoke in boredom. In that case, although Satya's mind control has been lifted, there's still a trace of a problem. Wu Ming sat on the throne and leaned sideways against the back of the throne. He supported his face with his right hand and looked as if he had not slept well. It's called a problem, but it's just that after Satya woke up, she remembered that she fought against the supreme honorable and felt ashamed. Yair Bird said. In that case, give Satya an appropriate punishment. Wu Ming scratched his cheek. As expected of the supreme honorable, our master is a great being who rewards and punishes clearly. Yair Bird knelt on one knee and placed his right hand on his heart. Get up, Yair Bird. Speaking of which, does Satya have any information on the enemy? Even the slightest bit would be good. At this point, Wu Ming's lazy gaze became like a terrifying beast and emitted a dangerous aura. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. Because of your special item, Satya still retains her original memory. In the report submitted by Satya, it is very likely that the other party is from Cillian Theocracy. Yair Bird stood up and crossed his hands on his abdomen. The other party appeared near Khan village where Lord Wu Ming dealt with Sunshine Grimoire, and according to Satya, the other party is a faith magic chanter. In addition, the other party has a world-class item that we don't know about that can even affect the undead who are immune to mind control. The other party is probably a special unit of Cillian Theocracy, the Dark Grimoire. The Dark Grimoire? It seems to be mentioned in the information extracted from the Sunshine Grimoire's Captain Negan. Wu Ming looked at Yair Bird. 600 years ago, the 6 gods suddenly appeared, led human beings to establish a country, protected human beings, and left behind treasures. Wu Ming stood up and stretched his body. Maybe the so-called 6 great gods are actually Yggdrasil's players, and the so-called treasure is actually Yggdrasil's item. If that's the case, then it's not unacceptable that the other party has a world-class item that can even control a level 100 NPC's mind. Wu Ming stood in front of the throne with his hands on his chest and closed his eyes as if he was thinking about something. Well, let Sebastian go and meet with Annabelle. Sebastian will announce to the public that he is my butler. Well, let Sebastian and Annabelle work together to help Golden Princess and Roast Songway. If necessary, they can show their strength without revealing Nazarik's information. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. So that's how it is. Lord Wu Ming wants to control the country. It seems that I have to discuss it with Demiugos. Yair Bade thought. Also, let Demiugos and Yair go to the southwest of the kingdom. There is a country called Holy Kingdom there. Try to get involved with that country and let Demiugos act according to the circumstances. Try not to be too ostentatious. As for the humans you meet, don't hurt those with integrity. Deal with the scum on your own. Yes, Lord Wu Ming. Do you have any other orders? Yair Bade asked. Well, Sebastian is in charge of everything in the kingdom, including killing people. You must follow Sebastian's judgment. Demiurgos is in charge of everything in the Holy Kingdom. Try not to kill people. Yes, Lord Wuming, I will pass the message. After Yair Bade left, Wuming also began to move. Celian Theocracy, I'll meet you. Wuming once again showed that kind of excited smile. This time, Wuming was going to go to the Theocracy alone. Because he was afraid that Yair Bade would object, Wuming didn't even say anything. As for the reason for going to the Theocracy, first, he must ask for an explanation about Zatia's matter. Second, Wuming was now very interested in the Celian Theocracy. To be on the safe side, Wuming also deliberately pulled up the information in his mind to see if there were any world-class items with special abilities. On the Kaz plain, a huge green monster was running constantly. Wuming rode on the back of Funbaba. Sigh, I'm sorry to always let you be my means of transportation, Funbaba. Ooh, yes, I know. I will let you move more in the future. After crossing the Kaz plain, Wuming entered the Theocracy's border. After a series of inspections, Wuming successfully entered the Celian Theocracy. After inquiring about the location of the Celian Theocracy's capital from the old man, he rushed there. In a hotel in the Celian Theocracy's capital, Wuming was still looking through some of the information in his mind. World's will, it is said that as long as you have it, you will always become stronger. Is it true or not? Devastating beauty can forcibly control one's mind. Well, it seems that this should be what controls Atia. Holy Slayer's Lance can completely delete the target character's data. There is no other way except for using world-class items with resurrection effect. This is more dangerous. After all, I don't know if this thing has any effect on me. Just when Wuming was still thinking, a large number of people with a trace of hostility appeared in Wuming's perception range. Huh, did they find me so soon? As expected of the Celian Theocracy with world-class items. In fact, Wuming didn't hide his aura at all. Even ordinary people will find that Wuming has a sense of oppression, let alone the elites who can stay in the capital. Since they're already here, I have to go out and meet them. Wuming got up and walked downstairs slowly. On the empty street where the crowd has been evacuated, Wuming put on the knight's armor that he created with high-grade item creation and looked at the other party's leader hidden under the helmet. It was a young man with a gun who seemed to be a teenager. So what can I do for you? Wuming asked. Excuse me, are you Wuming Sama, Root Dragon King? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.